shining like a beacon of bright stars. I was in a life wandering far until I found a lighthouse guiding me out the dark.
Welcome to LXC.
Neon lights flash, glow in the virtual battlefield. Sentinel, lead, let's go. Platinum dreams revealed. Climbing high, we'll soar on the rift of endless mind. Strategies we explore through the endless fight. Sentinel lead, rise up.
Touching bot. What the? I'm coming.
A bit. No way.
Shoot one, shoot one, shoot one. Malcolm.
Sucks.
Yep, walking.
Oh, I got
Sir
pushed.
hasn't been
No
popped yet.
center, no center, no center, center, no center, center.
Sucks.
Oh my god, I can't move. Looking? We end. Yep.
Don't kill!
Of the Jinx. I'll take that every time. Natsuko's face checking here is a little greedy though. Flashes in, Mordekaiser ult finds somebody. So there's no smite available right now, but they're just going for the fight. Oriana does get it. Oriana ult will make sure Syndra goes down. Questioning Air is running for his life, but he can't run out of the Cataclysm. So he will be 3v1'd. And they get the feats, they get the kills, and they get the Rift Herald. I didn't think that fight was worth it because they were so late, but they just make it work. Flashes over the wall. But what are you gonna do after you're out of the death realm? Maokai ult's coming in. Here comes Renekton as well. I think Questioning Air is just dead. Dorsky also just dead. Sure, you'll give up Heartstuck, brother. I know that you said that was an important part of the team, but the rest of other side gaming is gone, so it doesn't matter if you don't have Jinx. They also pick up the Cloud Soul. Nazgûl is able to flash in, gets down Kai'Sa. Mundo Man is low health from the play earlier. Will die surely to an E, and it's just Soul and so many kills. About it, Sejuani has ultimate available. There's no Viego here as well. It looks like the start is going to be onto Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser could ult, someone does do so. Now Dorsky is the one in trouble. Lissandra ult also finding Kayn before he can get an Heartstuck Brother. Heartstuck Brother in the middle of a bunch of melee champions. Kayn is inside of him. Mordekaiser goes down to 4. They do pick up the Kayn on the other side, but now Caitlyn is just completely CC'd and killed. Yasuo can go free. And I believe that Viego resets are not going to be enough as Yasuo, well, Yasuo did die, but Silas will pick. Before Silas teleporting now, they're running into the Caitlyn on the wrong side of the map. Caitlyn is jumped on by Camille, but she flashes out before the ult comes out. So now Caitlyn is just free hitting with Infernal Soul. The support is on top of her. The support is not going to be enough. Meanwhile, Fifi is getting resets with that Infernal Soul. Zanya's will not save Silas, and Caitlyn is somehow able to 1v1 the support and dropping point pick up the ace. Only losing their support with the soul and the inhibitor down. You have to imagine that they're just gonna walk it down.
We find our place. Feel the beat of destiny in the LXC. We're wild and free. League of dreams, our legacy. We fight till dawn in harmony. Every match a brand new quest. Skills and teamwork put to test.
Crazy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the LXC Season 2 Winter Split Playoffs. We'll be kicking off the postseason in the Sentinel division tonight with the play-in stage. This will be a best of 3 between Plasma Wolves and New Origin Voracity. Both of these teams have struggled quite a bit in the back half of the season. Each of them only have 2-game wins in the past 5 weeks. For the Plasma Wolves, those wins are actually slightly fraudulent as well. Both were acquired when OSG Avalanche had to forfeit their last match of the season. On the side of Voracity, they picked up 1 win against the Rivals in Week 4 and 1 win against Braum Lives Matter in Week 5. but they have lost their last 5 consecutive matches. Hopefully, both of our teams have learned a lot from those losses because from now on, it is do or die. The winner will move on to face Bunny Brawler Paws in the quarterfinals, and the loser's playoff hopes will end tonight. Let's get into it. My name is Crewman44, and there is a severe storm coming. In fact, he's already here. Storm, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty excited for this matchup. Obviously, Voracity, friends over at the New Origin server. Glad to see him getting into the play-ins, making playoffs. Plasma Wolves, I think, definitely a very good roster. Obviously, Nike Dragon doing double time over for Eden over there,
Yeah,
playing both in Sentinel and in Crusader now. So hopefully they're not a little tired, little eepy, and we'll get some banger games in tonight.
absolutely. Yeah, Nike Dragon, I believe, is an 80 carry up there in Crusader, right?
Correct, correct.
But actually playing top lane for the Plasma Wolves in this one, so that'll definitely be interesting to see. Maybe some 80 carries in the top lane, perhaps. Any
Ayo,
chance we see
advancing
that?
top.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
maybe.
I don't, I'm not quite sure Nike's pool. They did kind of silver merchant their way out in Crusader, but
Yeah,
sometimes you got to do it.
we'll see. We'll see. Well, are there any players or picks in particular that you're going to be looking out for tonight, Storm? Who are you keeping your eye on?
Um, from both these sides, starting with Veracity, I think a really key member to watch on that team is gonna be the top laner in Uba. I think he's very comfortable in a lot of these current popular carry picks, things like the Camille, things like Mbessa. Um, and I feel like from watching some of their games, he tends to be the thing that warps a lot of them. Um, the other side is Captain Little Tyler over there, my little Udyr kitten. Um, solid jungler, willing to play whatever the team needs. But on the side of Plasma Wolves, Zuri going back to jungle because I want to say they played at least one game of mid sometime recently. Nike moving back to playing top lane down here in good old Sentinel. I'm not
Mhm.
sure about
Mhm.
Nike's top pool, but
We'll see.
Portuga also has put up some pretty decent stats in the split. So I think this should be pretty good matchups where both sides of the map at least have some strength to play towards.
Absolutely, yeah. I actually cast Tortuga in another league as well, so cool to see him here in the LXC. That'll be definitely interesting to see, who is really able to step up tonight on either one of these teams. We were talking in the lounge this past weekend as well, Storm, and a little bit on the call tonight before going live as well, about how you've been somewhat involved in coaching the draft strategies for Veracity, right? So is there, and in that lens, is there anything in particular you're hoping to see from them tonight, or anything you're really hoping to not see from them tonight?
So after one of their weeks, and they were picking some pretty illegal champions. We had a little sit down, we had talk, we put together, personally in my opinion, a little bit more coherent drafts. Last week, sadly, they still were not able to pick up the win. Um, obviously, I think there was the matchup didn't matter, so I don't think anyone was overly taking it too serious. But either way, I think they're starting to show a little more comfort in it. I think being able to pick more of these standard, just stand your ground and fight comps for them will do them a lot of justice. Into the fact it'll let Uba kind of get away with playing maybe a little bit more of these side laners slash solo divers like the Mbessa that can kind of just
Hmm.
get a pick on the backliner by themselves, and then picking things like maybe the Ash or the Rise that are just very standard. They want to stand together and take these fights together. They want to be hitting same targets, and I think maybe putting a little bit more playmaking in support for Scarlet is also going to help them. Things like Seraphine, just being able to look for those big engages off the ultimate can be a big help, especially in some of these lower divisions where just having the bigger engage tool sometimes can make the difference.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. It makes sense with what you were saying earlier as well. How you really see Uba as maybe kind of the player on this team that can really change game states pretty drastically. Depending on what they're able to get done up there in the top lane. So definitely makes sense that Veracity would want to be drafting around that as well. Um, we do have a slight delay, guys. One of the teams, I believe, is having to use an eSub due to some IRL power issues, I believe. So we do have a little bit of a delay getting into this first game, but hopefully we'll be able to get into that shortly. We did also, of course, make some predictions, Storm. I don't know if we're able to get those up on the stream or not, but we are both predicting, I believe, the Plasma Wolves to actually end up taking this one. Are you expecting 3 games tonight, though, Storm, or what are your expectations on that specifically?
So I'm hoping for at least 3 games. I would love Veracity. I would love Veracity to prove me wrong. Let me get that very point and clear. I hope I am wrong.
Mm.
Sadly, I think they're figuring it out a little too late. Um, so I wish they had a little bit more time, a little bit more scrim practice with some of these different comps. Because right now, like before, they're kind of picking random things like the Kennen mid. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to say Kennen mid's like unplayable, but it is such a niche counter pick that I'm gonna be real. If you have the games on it in solo queue, you could have just practiced Syndra and got more value out of it.
Sure.
But going into this, I want a 3-1. I think it would make for a good little story. Obviously, get a good roll into this playoffs for both these teams to get even more games practice. But this Plasma Wolves roster has looked pretty solid most of the split. Obviously, they had a little bit of shakeups with roster changes, people getting IRL diffed. So I want to say that it's very possible they do drop a game, but people like Nike, Zuri, people that have performed throughout Sentinel most of the split, I think are going to be able to perform well enough to be able to get this team across the line.
Makes sense. Yeah, the Plasma Wolves did, of course. I was mentioning in the intro how they've had definitely a very rough second half of the season, but they did pick up a good number of wins in the first half of the season. And they did finish in the standings with 4 wins, as opposed to only the 2 match wins that Veracity was able to pick up. So definitely, favored on paper, but there is sort of that question of momentum as well, right? And the fact that the 2-0 that the Wolves got last week, they didn't even actually play those games. So, maybe there's even a little bit of rust if, some of the players have maybe taken a couple weeks off or some time off here. So we'll see. I don't want to say that is like the only angle for Veracity if the Plasma Wolves are just like slumping or you know, not up to their usual form, but could end up being a bit of a factor. We'll have to wait and see. Is something else we could talk about, Storm, as we are still waiting to see about that substitute situation. Something else we could talk about would possibly be the patch. I haven't actually read this latest set of patch notes just yet. Have you got around to that yet, Storm?
I want to, so I take little peeks here and there,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
um, kind of to check what the most, I guess, controversial changes are. Um, I don't want to say these are going to be super big implements into like Sentinels League, but certain things being changed, like Nefiri being moved away from this kind of point and click APS AD assassin to being transferred more into this jungle role, I think is big.
Mm.
Also, a lot of random junglers, things like Jarvan, Kha'Zix, Poppy, all Xin all catching buffs here is pretty important. I think things like
Yeah.
Jarvan, Xin both really good early game AD skirmishers that you can kind of just slap chop into most comps and make it work. Darius is finally getting butchered. Get that champion up jungle. It's not fun to play against. It's not fun to watch.
Yeah.
Get rid of
Yeah.
it. Um, and then a lot of AD carry nerfs. Caitlyn, Corki, Ezreal, Draven, Jinx. Um, I'm gonna be real with you. I think the Jinx nerfs like super placebo. I don't get why we're touching ult damage on Jinx like that. That's the problem. But at least they're trying to touch it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Pretty minor nerf there for Jinx. Yeah, the Kha'Zix changes I'm kind of excited about. I feel like those are pretty big buffs, particularly on the passive. Um, could be pretty good. We'll see. Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
interesting to see that. Oh, go ahead.
yeah. I think Kha'Zix is definitely one of those junglers that it's the same Kha'Zix Rengar problem we always end up having. Is if they ever overtouch Kha'Zix, he becomes like the absolute problem of the jungle that you then have to start like picking weird comps to deal with. But he's also like one of the most flexible assassins in jungle that can go if you end up picking like a super anti-assassin comp that he's just gonna say, okay, I'll take Conqueror and I'll just build like a bruiser and I'm still gonna one hit your AD carry. Might take one more Q, but
Yeah.
who are we to say it's not balanced? So it has been a while since Kha'Zix has been prevalent, so I'm not even that mad. But it does seem like Plasma Wolves did at least find their sub. Um, going by the name of Kittens. I believe
Oh,
they're going to be role swapping it, and Kittens will be moving to support for them, which then is going to mean Trash Panda is taking it up to the 80 carry position.
yeah, yeah. Very interesting. I have to wonder, if Trash Panda has a lot of experience or much experience with AD carry, or if this is just purely to get Kittens their comfort. Not really sure, but that'll be that'll be fun to cast, of course. The Kittens on the Wolves, as Wolves are really more akin to dogs than cats, right? So it's a bit weird, but there's something there. I'm gonna workshop it a little bit. We'll see if I can come up with something.
It's like the adopted pack member, you know?
Nice. I like that. Yeah, that's pretty wholesome.
So I'm not sure how much longer we're gonna have to wait for draft. I know that Voracity is allowed a couple extra minutes to do some scouting to look into this player, especially with the role swap and Trash Panda, maybe having to do a little bit deeper of a dive into that account to see what 80 carries or maybe even some like APCs they were mostly comfortable on.
Mm. Yeah.
But it looks like I'm just gonna eat my shoe because Veracity said we don't care. Our draft. What's up?
Yeah, it looks like we'll be getting into it any second now. So the wait will soon be over, guys. We are going to have, of course, the Plasma Wolves on the blue side for this first game. Veracity is going to be playing from the red side. Let's see here. Are we going to have any, like, lost bands or anything like that? Yes, it looks like there are probably going to be some lost bands. -2 bands for the Plasma Wolves with the E sub there. So, do you feel like that is going to be something that ends up being really consequential, Storm? Or you think they're gonna really be missing those bands, or what are your thoughts?
Personally, I think losing this bans. I get they picked blue side to start. Unironically, I think that is the biggest problem for them right now. Is I think if you're gonna be minus these two bans, I think you'd prefer to be on red side
Mm.
because this really limits a lot of the pinching you can do in this pool. Because this
Oh.
is gonna now turn into what is the most impactful champion Veracity can pick, and if that's what you're worried about, you Tyler is very prevalent on a lot of these early ganking junglers, things like the Pantheon, Volibear, Udyr, um, as well as Uba. I think one of his better champions is that Mbessa, which
Mm-hmm.
is definitely a first roundable top laner due to its flexibility, being able to play in jungle mid as well for that triple flex. Obviously, I don't think Veracity's ever going to really appoint that due to the fact Uba's definitely just the most comfortable person on the pick,
Yeah.
but it is definitely an angle they could look. Um,
Mm.
so if I was Plasma Wolves, that probably would be my priority.
But you, just to be clear, you haven't done any draft coaching for the Plasma Wolves, just for veracity.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, having
I don't know
some
why it's
issues
like
with
that.
the draft lull here as well. We're gonna have to remake this. It looks like so technical issues abound today, Storm. A little bit of
Yippee.
Is it your fault? You're just so stormy that you took out Tortuga's power and
It
destroyed the draft. You're just too powerful, Storm. I think that's what it
it
is.
it'd be a little cloudy, bro. It'd be a little cloudy. I don't know what to say. Oh
Yeah, it's gonna be
boy.
really interesting to see. Something else to think about, and I did touch about on this in the intro also. Just the fact that the winner of this match is going to be going up against the Bunny Brawlers, right? As I believe they are now called, the formerly Outlaws Obsidian, now the Bunny Brawler Paws. But I mean, they're undefeated for a reason. Going to be an insanely difficult quarterfinals opponent. So that's something else that I'm kind of keeping in the back of my mind as well tonight, Storm. The fact that if either one of these teams wants to really have any kind of confidence going into that matchup against the Bunnies, then they're probably going to be looking for a really convincing win tonight, right? To really sort of show that they might have what it takes to challenge.
Yeah, and we'll see now that draft link was able to be updated and we're getting into it. Veracity immediately taking away that Skarner, Nautilus, and Braum, and like I was talking about earlier, Plasma Wolves just saying no to that Mbessa champ.
Hmm.
As someone who plays it a lot, I think it's definitely first round bannable. It's very strong. It has very few losing matchups. But we see the Syndra B1 from Plasma Wolves and Veracity follows with the Nocturne brand.
Interesting. Yeah, it's pretty bold for the Plasma Wolves that they would go with the mid pick on the B1 there. Although I guess, as you were talking about earlier, it is kind of possible that they might even flex that into like the bot carry position, right? Not really sure what the pool is looking like exactly for Trash Panda, but we'll see what's going on with the Syndra. I do like the Nocturne quite a lot as an answer though. So I feel like as long as you can spell shield the scatter and make sure you can stay on top of that Syndra, she's very immobile, right? And champions like that, especially if she's like looking to push out a side lane or something like this, can be very susceptible to getting ganked by the Nocturne.
Yeah, and then Plasma Wolves following that 1-2 from Veracity with a Volley Bear pick. And then rounding it out with
A big old
Milio.
bear.
I don't
Mm,
love this unless this is Volley Bear top, simply due to the fact Nocturne can just spell shield your stun, and Brand
true.
kind of eats you alive past 25 minutes. Um,
You know.
but Veracity just taking that cannon on 3, possibly trying to play that flex between Uba and Limestone. Obviously,
Yeah.
I know Limestone likes it a lot, but if they're worried that this Volley Bear is going top, the Kennen matchup is not very favorable for Volley Bear. Kennen's very good at just spacing that champion out. Obviously, Volley Bear can reset the Thundering strikes with that
Hmm.
Q, but honestly, by the time you get stunned, Kennen will just be out of range of you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We know, as you say, Limestone has played the Kennen mid earlier this season, so uh, could very well be the case once again here. Although I feel like if it does end up being that matchup against the Syndra, you're talking about how the Kennen's probably pretty favorable into the Volley Bear. I feel like definitely not true against the Syndra, right? Syndra's going to outrange you and just kind of make Kennen's life pretty difficult if that ends up being the lane.
Yeah, so on past patches, Kennen would have dealt better into this matchup, but a while back they changed the interaction on his Lightning Dash. Lightning Dash used to give Kennen a bunch of resist while he was in it, to
Oh
then
yeah.
a while back it got switched back to attack speed, which is what brought him to be prevalent in top lane again. So with that being removed, this is definitely a lane where if Syndra gets ahead, she just blows you up on repeat. But then we see Veracity coming on forward with that Seraphine, just trying to set up
Okay.
for this Nocturne dive.
Yeah, totally. Oh, I love that call out. Yeah, could be really strong alongside the Nocturne. And you did mention earlier as well that this is exactly the kind of pick that you'd like to see for Scarlet, right? Something that she's really going to be able to use to make big plays, follow up on those engages, and help out the team in that way. So feels like a good lock in there for Voracity. And then assuming, I mean, they don't have an 80 carry locked in. Do we think it could be like a Brand Seraphine bot or something? I'm not sure why you would save 80 carry for the R5 pick.
My bet here is that this is most likely brand APC. I think in a lot of the hyper carries right now, you can just kind of nuke the wave in their face, and they can't do anything to you about it. As well as this kind of comp, something not super mobile, not a ton of dive. Your real only dive in this game is Volley Bear, but we see Veracity finish draft with
Wow.
R5 Kled.
Just like you drew it up, right, Storm?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
Unironically, we have talked about this before, and I told them if you want to play dive comp, I don't hate it, but people need partners. And they didn't just pick one partner, they picked three. Trying to play Jinx in this game when you're getting Kennen, Kled, Nocturne ulted sounds miserable.
Yeah, yeah. It does mean it is going to be the Kennen mid, it looks like, for Limestone there. So the Kled almost certainly going into that top lane. Although we have also seen Kled mid on occasion. So maybe we can't entirely rule that out just yet. But definitely like that. I feel like the Kled Kennen combination in the team fights is really, really scary, right? When Kennen gets the big ol' speed boost while he's ulting, that sounds very, very threatening, especially for the Jinx and the Syndra, like you were just talking about. Both relatively immobile carries, right? So they could really struggle if they end up getting engaged on like that. Gonna have to be really careful to play around their front line. You know, they do have the Melio on the side of the Plasma Wolves as well, so like that can be a good answer into the Slicing Maelstrom, right? Unless, of course, the Melio is also getting caught in that Kennen ultimate. Um, so it does feel to me like the Plasma Wolves have some tools. You know, Syndra can be okay as well. If you hold the scatter at trying to, well, I guess Kled is unstoppable while he's ulting, right? So you can't really scatter him out of that one. But it seems like the Plasma Wolves have some tools at least to try to answer this dive that's going to come out from Veracity.
Yes, I'm not quite sure of the interaction if Emilio ult actually cleanses Nocturne's turning the lights off. That I'm not sure if that's how that's going to work. If so, that
Yeah,
could be a really big thing to look at here. But if I'm
yeah.
Milio, this is like your worst case scenario to play Milio.
Hmm.
Because sure, you've got that cleanse. What are you cleansing? Are you cleansing Kennen ult that's murdering your entire team? Are you cleansing Seraphine ult that's CC locking your entire team? Or are you Milio ulting whatever person is diving Jinx?
Yeah,
You've got a lot of options, not a lot of tools.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I feel like the Plasma Wolves composition, it looks at first glance like it would be the easier to execute draft, right? You've got your scaling carries, you've got your front line, you've got an enchanter for Jinx, but like I definitely hear your concern. So that it could end up being really difficult because Veracity have a lot of threats, with the dive here. So, if they are able to get on top of those carries, it could all come tumbling down for the Plasma Wolves rather quickly.
Yeah, a super big part of this game is going to be the Syndra Jinx being disciplined in how they use their summoner spells. If
Hmm.
this Kled or Kennen, it's going to be Kled mid. If this Kled in early game can force
Mm.
Syndra to burn that flash, which is definitely a doable thing, that Nocturne ult is going to come.
Yeah.
And something like Syndra, where you really have to prey on your flash or you have to prey on scatter to be able to get you out of those engages, are just not guarantees, especially when Kled's just going to be able to start the fight on you and force it out to begin with.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, really interesting to see that Veracity are moving that Kled into the mid lane and putting the Kennen top. It is, of course, going to be the Kennen laning against the Cassante that we did see get locked in there on the B5 slot for the Wolves. So not going to be the Volibear matchup that we were discussing a little bit earlier. But I assume, relatively similar in the sense that Kennen is going to probably be having a pretty good time there. Should be able to space the Cassante pretty comfortably, right?
Yep, Cassante definitely has angles to kind of take over this matchup. Just being able to have that mobility, the CC, the negating of CC with that unbreakable in
True,
the
yeah.
Cassante W can really make a turn in this lane. But if Kennen's playing it properly, he should be staying out of Cassante's threat ranges on those timers. But we'll just have to see how these champs end up piloted out.
We'll see. We'll see. Uba, of course, as you were talking about earlier, one of the big players to watch, I think, for this Voracity lineup as well. So hopefully is going to be able to have a strong laning phase into the Cassante. But overall, Storm, now that we see everything locked in, we know about the swapping that's happening for the side of Voracity. Do you feel like either one of these drafts is a little bit stronger? Which way are you leaning in terms of who came out on top with this champ select?
I personally like Veracity's draft more as
Mm,
long as Nike is not comfortable on this Cassante. I think
mm.
Cassante is a very hard champion to play, but can do work for this comp if it's piloted correctly. If it's not, I feel like Veracity has way too many angles to just gun your backline down before you can really do anything to answer it.
Yeah, great call out there. Definitely. The Cassante can be really useful against these dive comps, right? As they're trying to dive on top of the carry, Cassante's just like, nope, actually, you're coming with me. So we'll see if Nike Dragon, our AD carry slash top laner, is going to be able to be the difference maker on their side for the Plasma Wolves. But that's going to do it for our draft discussion, guys. We're going to go into a short break, and then at long last, we'll be on to the Rift for our first game of the night.
Just break my
Alrighty, folks, welcome on to the Rift. The first time tonight. Again, we've got the Plasma Wolves on the blue side. We've got Voracity. Pretty spicy draft here on the red side to see what they're going to be able to get done with it.
Yeah,
Calm
seeing a
level
little
1
bit
storm.
of early walk-ins here. Limestone
Yeah.
getting tagged by that Cinder Q, giving up the first strike, and I'm assuming Mana Flow proc over to the Syndra, as well as Cassante fighting for that River Rush with the cannon early.
Yeah.
A lot of these
Yeah,
teams, outside of like the Seraphine, don't have a ton of level 1 setup, and it seems like both teams are really just playing for this early 5-point, and the cannon trying to sneak a ward into this blue side to be able to track this Volibear in the early game.
very nice from Uba there. Great ward. Is, in fact, going to be spotting out Zuri. Zuri is the pronunciation on that? Or Shuri?
That's a
I think we're...
bear.
Yeah,
Know
yeah.
that much.
Definitely is going to be on vision, though. It's hard to miss a bear that size, I guess. But just... Zuri, thank you, yes. It is going to be Uba just making absolutely sure that they do get that information. Is going to be a blue buff start for the Nocturne as well, so we are going to have reversed clears.
Yeah, and I think this is really smart pathing coming from the Nocturne, wanting to play and cover for this range top. Obviously, you see the Volibear clearing. Cradle is taking a little bit of an early fight into this Jinx level 1.
Yeah. I guess these mages, yeah, Cradle's taking a ton of damage here, actually. His brand is down to about 300 health. Gonna have to go through that first potion. Yeah, the mages, the brand in particular, you know, it's really only the Pillar of Flame that's got some pretty decent range on it. Definitely Trash Panda gonna be able to get some work done with Fishbones with the rockets. You know, especially as well if the brand is using the spells on the wave to actually farm, right? It can be a little bit difficult. You know, definitely can get harassed by the Jinx like we were just seeing.
Yeah, early on in this lane phase is going to be a little tough for the brand until it can hit level 3 and has access to that full combo. But brand actually can outrange this Jinx just by tagging the wave with either that W or Q, because of the increased bounce range on the brand E on an inflamed target. It actually outranges most non hyper ranged AD carries. But we see
True.
Limestone going in early on the Syndra, trading really aggressively.
Yeah, trying to get that flash like you're talking about, right, would be absolutely massive for the Kled if they can put enough pressure on Wall Street to get out the Summoner, but not quite able to. Oh, Praetor's potentially in trouble, has to walk around the Flame Chomper's gonna get hit by the Zap as well. The brand not gonna flash, just gonna eat the death. First blood for Trash Pan, and now Kennen has to flash away, and it's going to be Nike Dragon with the flash follow, picks up the solo kill before Tyler can get involved. The Nocturne is going to be able to clean up that kill, but it's going to be the Plasma Wolves up 1 early.
Yeah, and obviously that is the tough part of this matchup, is if you are losing that spacing match on the Kennen, if Cassante gets into you, it is very hard to get away from it. Things like the Nantofo strike on the Cassante constantly proccing that slow on something like Kennen can make it really hard for him to properly space. Limestone dodging the scatter though.
Very
Playing for that
nice. Wall
remount.
Street, low mana as well. But here comes Juri as the Fear Tether is going to push the bear away. Tyler actually standing and fighting as the remount comes through for the Kled, and Juri is going to get taken down. That's 2 kills apiece now as Tyler picks up his second.
Yeah, Tyler making his presence known on the map in this early game. Brand, Seraphine going back to it. Kled.
Oh, Wall Street. Oh,
solo.
there's the flash. A little gun from the Kled. It doesn't quite have enough range to actually finish off that kill, but there is the Syndra flash. He got it.
And that's a really bad timer to get that burned. Kled does have the XP lead and crashing a pretty big wave mid. Syndra obviously gonna have to TP back to catch this, but she is going to miss a sizable chunk of it. But now if this Syndra's ever shoved, that Nocturne Kled combo can come through and do a lot of work.
Absolutely. Wall Street going to be a little bit behind in XP now, like you were just talking about, you know, missing a portion of that pretty big wave. So you can see right now, Syndra just now ticking over to level 5. And Limestone, of course, already there and about to catch this wave as well as the Kled returns to the lane. You have a, looks like a Mountain Dragon to start us off. Nobody making any moves towards these objectives just yet. We do have Juri looking for a move towards this top lane, potentially. Here comes the bear. Uba, no flash from the earlier play as the Lightning Rush. Try and get away. The Volibear also doesn't have flash, so Uba will be able to get away from that one.
Yeah, and that's really important that he gets out without having to spend. Obviously, already still doesn't have the flash from that earlier skirmish, but as long as he doesn't get checked here, I think that Voracity can still look to fight for these grubs with Kennen ult coming up. Because
Yeah.
this Kennen's actually somehow still ahead of XP on this Cassante for at least a little bit.
True. I'm sure Nike Dragon must be close to that level 6 mark as well. Currently, it is river control for the side of Veracities. Both supports have roamed up towards this top side of the map for the potential grub fight. Push in mid for the Kled as well, and it looks like this is going to be the grub start for Veracity, and the side of the Plasma Wolf is going to be happy, it looks like, to trade that for the Dragon.
Yeah, and I think for Plasma, this is your best bet. Obviously, this game can get really out of control really quick if you toss a really bad skirmish into something with like this Kled ult with the Nocturne at level 5, 2 kills. It is just the safer bet to pick the more scaling objective here and play for drag. You've already got a lead with your Jinx, and you really don't want to strong side something like this Cassante, especially into a Kennen matchup, where once Kennen plays and gets these tier 2 boots, it's going to be that much harder for Cassante to really punish it. So I think playing for your Jinx here, playing for that off roll, making sure they're comfortable and they're at a point where they don't feel pressured in the game is a really good angle.
Absolutely, yeah. Makes a lot of sense for the Plasma Wolves. I like that call as well. It's important for us to remember also the fact that Trash Panda, usually the support player, but able to get that first blood. Definitely great news for the Plasma Wolves. Definitely indicates that Trash Panda is still relatively comfortable, you know, even in the 80 carry position. We'll see if they're going to be able to keep that up. As the bear doing some counter jungling right now. Tyler about to arrive and possibly find the bear on the blue buff.
Now, can the Kled move to help here? You see the Kled ult
Tyler
come out.
actually was able to get that blue buff stolen away as well. As an interesting angle for Limestone. Ended up behind the dragon bed. Not actually able to find where the bear had retreated to. Wall Street able to find a nice scatter. The rocket's not going to land. Does dismount the Kled. That's a flash forward for Prados over here in the rivers. Tyler's now in trouble. Tries to use the paranoia to reposition right on top of the Syndra, though. And the rest of the team, the rest of the Wolves, able to collapse. They take down Tyler. That's even a shutdown. Some extra gold for Wall Street. And that's going to be the feat of warfare as well for the Wolves.
Yeah, and we see on the top side this Kennen starting to poke out Nike Dragon with these shurikens, forcing out the back. Now the Kennen and Cassante both still sitting on the TP, but Kennen maybe being able to burn the Cassante TP here and look to make a TP Tempest play could really pay dividends in this next fight.
Absolutely. Yeah, Uba's opened up about a couple of waves of CS advantage over the Cassante. You know, we expected this to be a tough lane for Nike Dragon, but great to see that Uba is able to put on that pressure, able to get that lead for himself in that top lane matchup.
Yeah, and the itemization from the Kennen here, immediately going into those tier 2 pen boots, I think is a really important thing. Tier 2 boots will almost always be one of the most important spikes for top laners when playing into range versus melee matchups. Obviously, your spacing is super important. So we see the Cassante actually favoring the Swifty boots over the Merc Treads in this lane. I personally don't love it, but I can see the reasoning for it, especially into this team with like a brand, Seraphine, where you're really worried about just getting tagged by slows and less of just getting locked up completely.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. Just sometimes that little bit of extra move speed, you know, for potentially getting into position to look for those ult angles as well, you know, can definitely be relevant. So an interesting choice for Nike Dragon, but that's not going to do her any favors for the lane itself, necessarily, right?
Yeah, it's the mix of you're kind of just having to eat that full Kennen stun on repeat, but if you are able to hold that unbreakable and time it with Kennen stun, not only do you eat the initial stun cooldown from Kennen, but the following ones should still be reduced due to the fact it's a debuff that gets put on you. That's what shortens Kennen's next following stuns.
We got Kittens and Shuri looking for a play here as Tyler, a little bit late on the spell shield, not actually able to block the stun from the Volley Bear. And now Tyler going to have to flash away from that one. River control now for the Plasma Wolves. They would love to deny at least one of these grubs to prevent the full 6 from going over. See what they're going to be able to get as the fight looks to be about to break out as the side of Voracity. Oh, Scarlet separated from the rest of the team, gets flashed on, and comes the spiking Maelstrom. No, that's so much value from the Kennen ultimate, and Voracity, they take down 2. Jui with the Stormbreaker, trying to trade it around, will get 1 back, but it's a huge fight for New Origin. They've taken 3 down already, and Nike Dragon, I don't think is going to be able to get away. Tries to go all out, almost able to take down Scarlet, but it's going to be a triple kill for Limestone on the Kled.
Yeah, that is a crazy combo to get off. Kled picking up 3 kills in that fight, as well as that Kennen just getting entirely into the backline. This is a lot of what I was talking about earlier in our pre-draft that my producer may have flamed me for a little bit. But this Kennen Kled combo, just getting into backsides of this team, just enables this Kennen to be able to play this full glass cannon build, because you were not going to have the time to pepper him out before a fight starts. We also see Nocturne, the first item, getting that experimental hex plate, being able to have all those extra stats when he pops that paranoia is a very good buy. But we do see Volibear playing to try to flip the drag on bot side after this, trying to catch Tyler sleeping.
Yeah, the Nocturne, it looks like is not even going to check. Tyler just going for the clear, pathing up towards that top side. So this Dragon will be given over, even despite, Praetor's pushed all the way up in that bot lane. They had the bot prio, so I'm a little bit surprised that Voracity didn't want to at least check that Dragon, but all right, that's going to be 2 now for the side of the Plasmos. Praetor's now potentially in trouble, has to flash to try to get away from Juri, but still the stun is going to connect. But Juri without the ultimate, not able to continue chasing any further.
Yeah, getting that Pyroclasm out of the brand really isn't good tool for them to burn from brand. Just makes this Jinx's lane so much safer. Really eliminates that possibility of just getting a random all-in flipped on you. So that's a really good thing that Zuru was able to burn out of them, and that even if they don't get the kill.
Absolutely. Praetor's was able to get, it looks like, a couple of turret plates, actually, for himself on the brand. So, down the Pyroclasm for now, so not going to be able to put on too much pressure, but still feeling relatively all right, even giving over that early kill. Still staying quite even with the Jinx. Wall Street going to take a bunch of damage from Limestone here. Clearly, the Kled comfort is there. Oh, the charge comes out. So Wall Street does have flash, tries to reposition, but Nocturne is just going to end up right on top of you anyways. That's going to be number 3 now for Tyler. Great pickup there.
Yeah, and this is kind of what we were talking about. Anytime Cinder doesn't have flash, and even in this case when she has it,
Oh, Tyler now looking to make an impact in the top lane as well. Slicing Maelstrom does come out for that initial burst of damage on a Nike Dragon. There's the Blast Cone getting denied there by Tyler. Looked a little bit funny, but just trying to make sure that Nike doesn't have an out. Oh, but he dashes forward, and the all-out comes through, and Uba is going to get shut down again. The Cassante and the 1v2 finds the trade kill again. Tyler will be able to clean that one up, but Nike Dragon really holding their own up there.
Yeah, and you see from this Kennen build, going straight into that Storm Surge is not, might as well be handshaking and saying, hey, this Cassante is going to be a tank. He is not my problem to kill. That is on my brand. That is on my Nocturne Kled. My job is I will absolutely blow up this Syndra Jinx anytime I have flash in these fights.
Yeah.
Oh, but we actually see he backed out of it. He undid it. Got himself a hex plate. We see Limestone.
Wall Street in trouble again. Yeah, wow. The Syndra is under so much pressure right now. As Praetor's taking a lot of damage as well. Would be one more rocket, and that's going to be Trash Panda picking up their second. closing that gap. Limestone, though, is going to get, it looks like this full turret. Nike Dragon trying to teleport in, but the turret will fall. It looks like Limestone is going to get punished for that one. Shut down over the Volibear. Paranoia in the bottom lane, as now the Jinx is trying to flash away. Oh, does get hit by the Encore, has to cleanse it. Still trying to kite this one out, though, but Tyler with the experimental Hexblade has so much movement speed, so much attack speed, they're able to run down Trash Panda. And now that's going to be New Origin Voracity back to that 2-kill lead.
Yeah, and we see Uba putting a lot of damage into this top turret, but the Syndra and Volibear are both here.
Yeah, Scatter's going to land. Uba does have the Slicing Maelstrom, trying to use it here to get away. Stuns up the Volibear, who doesn't have any tenacity, so that is going to be enough to get Uba out.
Yeah, on the side of Plasma Wolves here, this looks a little dire. They seem to be not having an answer for what Voracity wants to do in the game, and are just kind of panicked trying to cause plays where Voracity, for the most part, even when they're not seeing it coming on the vision, are just playing patiently enough that they clip it before they get engaged on. They're able to back out, even if they do have to burn a cooldown here and there.
Yeah, it feels like Voracity have been doing a little bit better at choosing those moments. Here they go again as the Kled ultimate to start things off. But the Kennen is trying to come in on the flank. Wasn't actually joined up with Limestone for the initial engage. Unleashed Power comes out, but it's not enough to finish off Praetos. The Rift Herald has been slain by the Volibear, but he's immediately going to get taken down afterwards. And now the side of the Plasma Wolves, they have to try and run. They have to try and get out. But it's the side of New Origin that want to leave no survivors. Kittens will flash away, will tell the tale of how their entire team got destroyed in the topside river.
Yeah, dude, this Kled ult, just being able to take these engages, on top of that, he's now finished the Synchronized Souls. So this Kled is going to be able to start putting massive pressure in these side lanes with the TP, with Synchronized Souls. This guy can kind of be wherever he needs to be at any moment's notice right now. And that has to be a terrifying thing to think about when you're Plasma Wolves.
Yeah, Limestone is really, really strong. They're able to get that tier 2 turret in the mid lane as well. And this is also massive, being able to deny this third dragon from the side of the Plasma Wolves. Jury is in the area, does have the ultimate, but not going to be able to get into the pit in time. The dragon is going to be slain, and Voracity just going to back away after securing that. Oh, never mind. They have a teleport in for Uba. They may be overstaying on the map a little bit here, but Wall Street in trouble is going to get run down by Tyler once again. The fear is going to be denied as Kittens kicks away the Ghosty Boy. But Kled is not done with this play just yet. In goes Limestone. Finds the, wow, the bear trap on a rope. Catches the bear with it. That's very appropriate. But it's not going to be able to get the kill.
Lore accurate Kled angles here.
For real.
Oh, and we see Kled's actually going back into the Volibear.
The bear doesn't appreciate being trapped. Tyler is here, though, to make sure that Limestone isn't going to get taken down. Oh, little zap connecting. Blows up Limestone. This could be big, and there it is. There's the stun, and they're going to give the kill over to Trash Panda. The Plasma Wolves not done with this game just yet. They're going to drop the Herald in mid as well. They should be able to get that full turret.
Yeah, that's a big shutdown, especially with that Volibear having Rift Herald. They're able to swing a lot of gold on this play.
Wow.
Tyler and Scarler both pretty slow on this rotate to cover mid tier 2. But it looks like Plasma Wolves is going to back off and just take what they got. Now we see, looking at these gold graphs, 7 and 2 on the Nocturne, 5 and 2 on the Kled. Cradle's
just
getting
dead here?
possibly
Goodbye.
one tapped. Holy,
Yeah.
Syndra is a fair and balanced control mage.
Wow, so that Syndra doesn't even have a completed item yet, Storm. Dang.
No, she is playing component garage sale at the moment, but sadly, you do have to flash some part of her kit. Otherwise, that first strike is actually a very disgusting rune for that champ, due to the fact it can just get its full combo off before the debuff drops, giving that champ's full combo a ton of firepower in the early game.
Yeah,
but another important thing to note would be that Stride Breaker coming through on the Nocturne, giving him a lot more sticking power on that backline when he gets these dives off.
Yeah, first champ in the game to get to that 2-item mark. So Tyler very, very strong as well. It does have the most kills on the team. As we can see, they're 7 and 2 so far on the Nocturne, but having a great game. alongside Limestone. Really feels like they're leading the charge in this first one. Pun intended.
Yeah, I really want to see with these neutrals down right now, Tyler try to take advantage of some of these immobile laners, possibly catching some of these side waves. Obviously, something like the Cassante, though it is a tank right now, is sitting on a very minimal amount of armor, and now it's
Wow.
laning into the Kled. This is a very killable angle if you look for it, but they do seem to be prepping this Otacon, maybe baiting Plasmals to step up and contest.
Nike Dragon does have the TP, and Kled has the charge. It's mid prio or mid control right now for the Wolves. Look to get that pushed out. Couple minutes on our next Dragon. You know, the fact that this is Infernal Soul definitely could end up being a win condition for the Wolves. Here comes the Kled, though. It is going to get right on top of Trash Band. It's a pretty good scatter. The Nocturne going very deep for this one. The Encore does come out to try and follow up on that play. Tyler flashes away, still gets taken down, and now Uba goes in with the Slicing Maelstrom, and the Kled is going to be able to get a couple down. So it ends up being still a favorable trade for Voracity. It looked a little bit disjointed that time, though, and should be all right.
Yeah, and we see Uba really just being able to back off Plasmal's backline, allowing them to have time to sit down and tear down that Volibear to make it a 2-for-1. Obviously, Nocturne kind of getting Bleeper agented way, way into the back by that Jinx flash.
Yeah.
But obviously, once you're in, you're in. He almost got out and sadly just got tagged by that last auto from the Jinx. But even then, even a slightly disjointed fight like that, Voracity still coming out 2-for-1 on it is a very, very positive play for them.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that the Nocturne and the Kled are so strong at this point. It's like, they can almost just, they don't even need help. They can just take down these carries, like, by themselves. So, it's really difficult from this position for the Plasma Wolves. You know, it's kind of, we kind of were predicting this almost in our draft conversation. You know, just the fact that Voracity have so many threats with this composition. You know, the fact that they now have the leads on multiple of those threats. It's a little bit too much for the Plasma Wolves to try and deal with.
Yeah, and some shopkeeper things to think about right now. This Volibear did decide to go with that Roa.
Yeah.
I do believe Roa is a good item option for Volibear, but it's really the 2-item core of Roa with Navori Flicker Blades that gives that item what makes it oppressive. So going into something like this Dead Man's Open, we see it engage on this TP.
Yeah, okay. In goes the Nocturne, has found Trash Panda, and the Jinx is just getting melted. There she goes. This is going to be the first casualty of this fight. Nike Dragon CC'd up on the front lines, trying to treat, but Uba looking to chase down the Emilio. Not quite going to be able to finish the kills. The shutdown goes over to the Volibear. Nike Dragon still alive on this Cassante. Wall Street does toss out the Unleashed Power, takes down Praetors, and then also will get taken down himself. Another favorable fight for the side of Voracity. They get the 3-for-2. Looking towards the Dragon now. Should be able to get it. Jury obviously still alive with Flash.
Yeah, and we see these early drags taken by the side of Plasmals, unironically may end up biting them. You're just going to start now feeding these Infernal drags into a cannon.
Volibear is going to go in, tries to get the steal. Oh, can't quite get in range, though. Now Jury going to be forced to flash out the back of the pit to survive. Yeah, it was a really great point you were just making, Storm, if you wanted to get back to it.
Yeah, the side of Voracity, this is kind of their wet dream at the moment. If you're playing Kennen, Brand, Kled, Nocturne, Seraphine, every single champion in this draft does nothing but benefit from having more damage. This team does not care about standing and fighting you. They do not care about move speed. They do not care about health regen, armor. They have one mission, and it is to dive and blow you up. And being able to possibly roll a 4 Infernal Dragon Soul is the best in slot, best case scenario this comp could get.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're feeling real great about how this is looking at this point for the side of Voracity. They're up about 3, almost 4K gold. So looking pretty good there as well. Herald being considered right now.
And starting this Otacon, I think, right now would be a bit of a mistake. I'd rather them prep this vision, try to go for a pick on this flashless Jinx, maybe get another big fight. Oh, but we're losing Scuttle Crab.
Yeah. Sure, you're gonna be able to lock that one away.
Tyler is pathing bot lane to try to get this blue buff, but realizes the risk of this team just being able to burn this Otacon, decides to drop it and come back into the top side.
Yeah, I mean, the Otacon, it does take a while to actually finish off that objective, so you really have to be careful when you decide to go for that, right? Particularly, champions like Brand, and, really, I think this whole composition for the side of Voracity, if they do catch the Plasma Wolves on the Otacon, the punish could be absolutely massive, so...
Yeah, a couple other important things to do. The Seraphine's taking a recall, maybe going to get another important component, as well as the Kled, I want to say, is only a couple hundred gold off of this. I'm assuming is going to be LDR. Me and a buddy used to be a bit of a Kled merchant back in the day. Obviously, this was more Baruzer Kled when we played it, but Kled has turned into this weird hyper assassin build recently, playing into this like crit pen item style on third item. I think that can be a huge finished item, being able to give themselves one more option that can not only really pop backliners on the side of Plasma Wolves, but also give somebody a different option to be able to burn through this Cassante in that all out.
Yeah, definitely. There is, with the Rod of Ages, then Jury is not really, as tanky as Volibear can sometimes be, but definitely a reasonable amount of frontline to try and get through on the side of Plasma Wolves, right? So having that armor pen, like you were just saying, definitely feels like it's going to be pretty valuable for Limestone. As we're posturing again in this topside river, both top laners with the teleports available in the bottom lane. Fight really could break out at any moment, but both of these teams you can tell are really hesitant. For the side of Voracity, they're obviously in a great position right now, so they don't really need to go for any risky plays. And I feel like they're mostly just hanging out in this topside river to try to make sure that the side of the Plasma Wolves can't go for anything.
Yeah, I think this is unironically a really bad look for Nike. I don't think you really care that much about this tier 1 bot. It's not a ton of gold. I think you'd rather almost just shove this Kennen in and then walk topside to see if you can maybe possibly bait him to burn that TP earlier and just get that engage tool out, then walk back bot, pressure him again, and then maybe look for your own TP flank once you've burned it out of the Kennen. But right now, these two are just going to sit here and handshake waves back and forth.
Yeah, does feel like Uba is pretty content with that. He's level 16 now on the Kennen, so max rank in that Slicing Maelstrom. And we've already seen, this backline of the Plasma Wolves had such a tough time staying alive. It's only going to get tougher.
Yeah, Kennen got to be coming up close either on that. I'm assuming his next back here, if he doesn't get the gold to just sell this pink ward and get that next large rod, he may look to sell that D-Blade, but it does look like both teams are starting to prep for this dragon. If they cannot clear out all of the vision, you have to be really scared of what a Kled engage here can really do to you.
Ooh, wow, interesting call for Voracity. They're predicting that the side of the Plasma Wolves are going to fully commit to take the Infernal Dragon, and they're just immediately going to pull the trigger on this Baron instead. And I think the trade is going to be successful. The side of the Plasma Wolves know about it. The Baron's still at about 50%, as now Jury trying to move over here, but Uba is going to run some interference, going to make sure that the enemy jungler is not going to be able to get into this pit. And Voracity, I feel like that's a trade up, but they did go over, give over Infernal Soul Point. Really interesting decision there, Storm.
Yeah, I think maybe they were just a little bit worried that their Kled and Kennen weren't going to be engaging on the same side of the fight, and just said, hey, we don't want to risk it. We'll just take the trade here. Obviously, this is still a pretty positive trade, but we do see Plasma Wolves possibly setting up to dive whoever comes to protect this tier 1, and that could be a big pick for them if they can get it. But you do have to worry about what do you do if Voracity just says, I'm just going to hard shove mid. I don't care about my tier 1.
Yeah.
But we do see them start walking topside. maybe possibly start up that Otacon.
Yeah, that could be the angle. And nobody on the side of the Plasma Wolves is anywhere near this. They don't really have even any vision in the area either, so they're just not going to contest this at all. That's going to be the Otacon given over as well. It looks like it is going to be the Ruinous variety, so some even more, you know, damage from those Infernal Dragons for the side of Voracity. Feeling really great about that, but you know, the fact that their opponents do have 3 now means that there is that little bit of pressure. They're going to get a tier 2 in the top lane here as well for Limestone.
As we see the Cannons trying to poke out that Cassante, as well as the Nocturne stealing camps away from this Volibear. Sadly,
Tyler
he's
gonna
going
get
to get
spotted
caught.
out.
Limestone could rotate
Ooh.
here, though.
Tyler able to smite away that blue buff, actually, on the way out. And now Juri chasing forward. The Fear Tether is going to push the Volibear away, but Tyler could still be in a lot of trouble as the charge from the Kled just in retreat, trying to come back to help get his jungler out now as well. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Uba getting doped by the Cassante, uses the Slicing Maelstrom to prevent himself from going down. A couple of close calls across the map there, but nobody's going to be going down. Nike, though, extremely low. The dash cannon forward for Uba and the move speed from the Lightning Rush as Uba turns that play around.
I think this is super fightable. Praetable still has ult. I think you don't need to be scared about burning it. Even if you don't kill anybody, you're going to chunk them out here. But it looks like we're just going to take resets and maybe play it and hope they don't really pressure it down. But Praetle's deciding to cancel it and stay. You got to be careful of this Syndra.
Yeah, the Volibear does have ultimate right now. Oh, Praetle's just going to get absolutely destroyed there, right as you were saying it, Storm. Yeah, he wasn't careful of the Syndra. He didn't follow your advice.
No, but this is still a pretty positive trade. Kennen being able to play for that tier 2 with Baron as they're just trading for a tier 1. Obviously, in recent patches, Riot has transferred a lot of the golden turrets around tier 1, not being worth as much, but tier 2 is still a hefty chunk. Have to give over.
Definitely a pretty worthwhile trade. You know, the fact that there was the kill that went over as well does even things out a little bit. But remember, of course, that Uba did also get that solo kill in the side lane onto Nike Dragon. So, yeah, I feel like Voracity pretty happy with that last sequence. We have 90 seconds now on this next Dragon. And I feel like Voracity did end up getting some pretty decent value from their Baron buff, right? Able to get the tier 2s in both top and bot. Definitely a good amount of gold. They've built up that lead to about 5k now. Let's see how this next dragon fight looks.
Yeah, the big important things in this dragon fight is going to be the fact that this Jinx, Syndra, and Milio, all 3 have flash, while this Kennen does not. This is going to be super important for that Kennen to get Kled into the backline. We see Uba going to try to catch the Syndra.
Oh, the Blast Cone for the Syndra means it's only the Nocturne, but Tyler should be enough just by himself. Gonna be able to take down Wall Street in the side lane. Well, that Nocturne ultimate, it might be coming back up. I mean, there's some haste in this build, not a ton. You know, obviously getting a good amount just from the Hex Plate itself. So, yeah, the Nocturne ultimate, it's about half off cooldown as well. Already, I should say. Praetle's getting engaged on here in the river, and the beat drop is not quite going to connect. The brand is getting taken down right before the dragon spawns, but now Limestone trying to get on top of Trash Man. The Jinx Flash coming in clutch. You called it out for us earlier, and now Limestone. Oh, but Uba gonna be able to chase down Trash Panda. They lost track of where the Kennen was coming from, and that is big now for the side of Voracity. Nocturne ultimate back up and available once again. Really tense here in the mid lane. There is a man advantage on the map right now for Voracity as they move into the river.
Yeah, and Limestone's going to be able to generate some courage on this dragon. We see the Syndra TPs coming in. Limestone needs to start hitting this dragon to try to get his remount up so that Syndra
He's going to be able to get into the pit once again. Uba does have the Slicing Maelstrom, just barely able to get it off the dragon, going down extremely low, and it is going to be Infernal Soul over to the Plasma Wolves as the Stormbringer forward. Juri is going to be able to Goomba stomp the little electric Yordle, and they take down the Nocturne as well. Scarlet now trying to get away, flashing away from Juri, but it's directly into Nike Dragon. Cassante going to be able to slam the Pop Star into the wall. A shutdown for Juri. A 3-for-1 fight plus the objective for the Plasma Wolves.
Yeah, and it just keeps going. Limestone deciding to pop that Kled ult to try to run away from the volley bear. That's another big cooldown, and Baron's coming up. I don't believe that it's going to be up in time for them to try to contest. Obviously, Uba did a lot of work on the back end of that fight. Slicey Maelstrom will come up and be available once he's back on the map, but your worry is, does Jinx just chew through this Baron before you ever get the chance?
Yeah, I mean, they have Infernal Soul now as well. Look at this from Nike Dragon, just waiting for Praetos to walk forward. Not quite able to connect the knockback there, though. Now the Cassante getting burned down. This Brand is doing so much damage on that 3-item spike as the rest of the team just staying on the Baron. They're just going to sacrifice their top laner as the Baron will be taken down. And now Limestone potentially in trouble, is not going to be able to remount. And Wall Street taking down Praetos there on the side as well. Oh man, Storm, Voracity, they were in such a great position. Where did it all go wrong?
I think it just had a couple too many fights where these divers are either going on two different targets, the Brand's getting caught a little bit too early, not being able to get multiple rotations of these combos off is starting to bite them a little bit. We see the Nocturne ult going on to the Syndra.
Tyler is going to be able to find Wall Street again in the side lane, and that is big. Going to be able to knock that Baron buff off. I mean, Wall Street probably should have seen that one coming, man. It's not like Tyler hasn't been targeting you at all this game. This is that was the dream Nocturne angles, and a mobile mage just completely alone halfway down the lane.
Yeah, but you have to be careful now. This Jinx going to have flashback here in probably about 1.5 to 2 minutes. And we just keep burning this Nocturne ult. Thankfully, it is already 3/4 of the way back.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's got max rank in it now as well. That Nocturne ult gets such a low cooldown at max rank. So Tyler's pretty much always going to have it available, honestly.
Yeah, but I think this next fight could really seal the deal for either of these teams. These death timers, level 16, 17, 18 for multiple members. These are big death timers in these fights. And if you just throw it one time, you very much can just, with no super waves anywhere, just kind of stomp down a lane and end the game if a fight goes too bad.
Definitely.
It'll be super important for both these teams to make sure all their side waves are properly pushed out next time they want to step up and maybe contest either this next Baron or even Elder.
Yeah, it's tough though, right? Especially for the side of the Plasma Wolves, you know, trying to push out those side lanes we just saw. It can be very dangerous, particularly for the Syndra. So, you know, at least for the Plasma Wolves with the Infernal Soul, I feel like they've been doing a better job, you know, in this, you know, later stages of the game of really trying to protect those carries, trying to prevent the dive from being successful as Nike Dragon taking a bunch of damage from Limestone. McLeod will still be dismounted. In comes the Nocturne, though, as Nike Dragon tries to go out. Oh, the rocket from Trash Panda is what secures the 1-for-1 this time around. Now Tyler getting collapsed on by multiple wolves. The wolves are circling. The zap is going to be blocked by the spell shield, but Tyler's running towards the wrong side of the map, even going to flash to try to get away. But Tyler is going to get taken down. Jury now dominating on this Volibear, and now it is the side of the Plasma Wolves to the 4v3. Such long death timers this late into the game, like you were just talking about as well, Storm.
The issue, though, is it's still really hard for the size of Plasma Wolves to really punish these kills. Obviously, Limestone and Tyler are a lot of this damage, but they are not the wave clear. Brand can just kind of nuke waves, but we have to be careful. This Jinx resets.
Yeah, true. Trash Band able to get some decent damage there onto Uba as the Kennen stuck around a little bit too long defending that tier 2, but Uba will be able to go back to the fountain to heal. And the side of the Plasma Wolves, they don't have Baron anymore, but they did secure that tier 2 in the bottom lane. Here comes the Kled as we charge forward as Limestone trying to catch anybody isolated, going for a greedy recall, but not going to be able to find anybody that time.
Yeah, that Kled ult definitely has some speed to it, but that initial windup does take a little while to really get going. Obviously, just not really realizing the pathing it was going to take to get there, and maybe not purely checking to see where Syndra was at in that recall timer. That's, again, a big cooldown to not have, and really limits Voracity on the angles they can look to take these engages.
I got Elder in about 30 seconds, and those flashes are back up now for both Wall Street and Trash Panda. Really feels like the Plasma Wolves at this point may have turned a corner in this game. On the Voracity, they're trying to get some control here in mid so that they can contest into the river. But very good from the Plasma Wolves, able to move back into this lane, make sure that they get that pushed out, and then back towards the Elder Pit. Limestone still off in the side lane. The Kled is going to look to possibly trade for an inhibitor here. Nobody of the Plasma Wolves has gone back to try and stop this Kled just yet. Limestone is going to be able to get the inhibitor. And the Plasma Wolves, they can't be wasting too much time here. Okay, Wall Street is going to go back. So Limestone not going to be able to get anything else, most likely. As, ooh, actually gets dismounted there as well. Hit by the scatter wall. Limestone flashes away, but it gets outplayed by the Syndra ultimate. In comes the slicing maelstrom from Uba, but Trash Panda with the flash away. The Seraphine ultimate, though, with that extra bit of CC is enough for Tyler to secure the kill. But Jure now so strong, so big on this bear, is going to be able to trade back for the Nocturne. Now Uba going down solo as the front line are the ones who are able to get it done. Wall Street teleporting back into the play, lands the scatter onto Pradles. It's going to be 4 for 2 in the fight. The Plasma Wolves secure another objective as well. And now they're going to be able to transition this Elder into the bear, and it's looking great for the Wolves.
Yeah, that was a really big exchange there. Obviously, the Kled able to take that top inhibitor, but just getting absolutely one-tapped by the Syndra in response, and then Syndra being able to burn that TP to rejoin and swing that fight. A big thing that they could have looked there, if maybe would have played a little bit more discipline, not hit the minions, that Kled could have gotten back and up and been able to rotate for that dragon. Another important thing here is this Kled and Kennen really need to be getting, Scarlet needs to be looking to get them some kind of flank ward. These two are both sitting on TP, and it could be a really big combo if they can get not only just that flank TP, but if they both can get that TP in and be able to look for that Kennen Kled combo into the back line on that Jinx. I don't think Milio saves her from that burst.
Absolutely, yeah. That's when Voracity have been successful in this game, right? When they're able to come from multiple angles to really look to give those carries nowhere to go, right? So they're running out of time though to try and set those plays up. The Baron alive on the map now. Elder's gonna persist for probably a little over a minute still. For now, looks like the Plasma Wolves just want to be pushing down mid lane. Kind of tough to siege without the Baron buff. I mean, Pradles has got plenty of wave clear on this brand. We've got the top laners split pushing on opposite sides of the map right now. It's actually an amazing scat. Oh my god! I guess we just land a scatter and win the game. Okay.
Yeah, the Syndra is beyond online, especially with something like that Elder buff just amplifying
there
it
goes
more.
the
But we see
Thornbringer. Not
Valder
going to try to make it happen as they're diving on top of Trash Panda, but it's just a little bit too little too late, as they will be able to take down the Jinx, but they're not going to be able to defend the Nexus. A double kill from Wall Street to close this one out. Syndra had kind of a tough landing phase, but Wall Street was so critical for this team down the stretch. So many great scatters. Uba not going to be able to hold the Nexus here, and even the Plasma Wolves going to make sure to take down the Kennen before they get this last 50 gold. Plasma Wolves take game 1.
Yeah, 44-minute banger for game 1. Obviously, both these teams are confident. What? I get yelled at?
What was that,
Getting
Prod?
yelled at. Obviously, both of these teams are really comfortable on a lot of these picks. Wall Street putting on a clinic in that mid and late game, busting out 46,000 damage. 1,000 damage a minute from that mid laner, even with being put super far behind early game.
Yeah.
If I'm Wall Street, I just say run me back to Syndra again.
Seriously, yeah, the Syndra, there was even that one play relatively early on where like the Kled was diving Syndra underneath the turret, and then Wall Street flashed to try to get away from the Kled, and then just immediately died to the Nocturne who was coming in with the ultimate. There were a lot of kind of moments like that in the early game where Wall Street was really under a lot of pressure. So definitely extra, credit there for being able to stay in the game and really come back and have that huge impact in the end. But yeah, for the side of Voracity, they definitely were in a great position. They were finding some good angles. They clearly knew what they were trying to do with this draft. But, in the end, once a couple of fights got away from them, it's really kind of like a tempo-based comp, right, that Voracity was trying to play here. And once they lost that, it was just a little bit too tough for them to try and regain their footing.
Yeah, obviously this kind of like extreme dive comp coming from the side of Veracity is very, very strong when they get to constantly just play forward, be able to run and gun. But obviously, the longer this game stretches out, the tankier this Cassante is going to get, and the tankier Cassante gets, the more time he can just buy space for this Jinx. Same thing with this Volley Bear.
Yeah.
And really, the only champion they've got to really deal with a true tank in this game is the Brand. And that Brand falling that far behind really
Yeah.
lets these tanks just come online and become a problem out of nowhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, unfortunately, not the greatest of games for Pradles. Definitely, getting caught out early even, and a couple of moments where just kind of getting caught out, not expecting spells to land or this sort of thing. I'm not really sure, but definitely wasn't really able to contribute what was needed, like you were just saying, to actually help the team secure the win in this first one. But who's your POG for this first game, Storm, over for the side of the Plasma Wolves? Definitely, it was a lot of strong performers in this one. What would be your vote?
I've got to give it to Wall Street. Wall Street being super focused by this Cannon or this Kled. It's a lot of K's. And Nocturne in the early game. And even though burning that TP, burning Flash, just constantly absorbing these dives and just being able to pick up kills here and there, be able to hit a lot of those important item spikes to be able to take over in that late game is shows how resilient they are as a player to not tilt and to stay in the game, even if they're not the ones with all of the econ early.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm definitely down for the Wall Street vote. Even towards the end there, when like Kled had just gotten the inhibitor, and Wall Street like based, killed the Kled, teleported back in, got the kill in the team fight as well. And then of course the scatter at the end when they were sieging the mid tier 3, that double stun onto the enemy bottom lane, just allowing them to end the game right there. So definitely Wall Street coming up big in this one for the side of the Wolves. And we'll see what this game 2 draft is going to look like. I think we'll be getting into it in just a moment here. For the side of Veracity, Storm, are you kind of thinking that they could run back a similar type of draft? I mean, they definitely were in a pretty good position, right, in that first game, just not quite able to hang on to it. Or would you really prefer to see them try a different approach here in game 2?
Well, in this game, we're going to see Plasmo staying on the blue side, Veracity staying on red. If I'm the side of Veracity, I think your top side performed about as well as they could have. Obviously, in the mid to late game, a little bit of mechanical errors happening. I think being able to give themselves, I honestly wouldn't hate a little bit of a salty run back here. Maybe we change bands up a little bit. If we're gonna take this Kennen on 3, we maybe switch out some of these 80 carry bands in the second phase to
Mm,
maybe protect this Kennen pick to keep it away from the likes of like Uber tanks that Kennen never can really cut through, like the Cassante, maybe like a Scion. Obviously, I'm not super knowledgeable on Nike Dragon's top pool, but they did not hit Emerald 4 for no reason. They are
yeah.
just good at the game. So being able to take away some of these picks that are just generically strong is a very good angle to look at, especially if we're going to be playing things like this Kennen.
Definitely. Yeah, I think the Cassante was definitely big in that last game as well for the side of the Wolves. Would it be all right for us to go to a quick break here, Mr. Producer, or should we? Yeah? Okay, perfect. We'll go to a very short break, guys, and then we'll be right back and see what Veracity are going to go for in that second draft. Don't go anywhere.
I've heard stories of distant lands, realms I long to reach. Your voice, it beckons me to go to worlds unexplored, to leave behind my home and wander. It beckons me to go to worlds unexplored, to leave behind my home and wander.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Here we go with Game 2 Draft. As briefly mentioned before, we do have Voracity electing to stay on the red side. So they're going to continue trying to make use of that counter pick, Storm. Let's see what is going to happen. One other thing to note, of course, the Plasma Wolves do have their starting AD carry back. Tortuga is back. The power has been restored. And they are going to have access to all those bans again for the side of the Wolves.
Yeah, and obviously being able to see what Plasma Wolves is starting to value to take away from the side of Veracity. Now we see the Pantheon taken away, even though it wasn't prioritized Veracity earlier. Now the Nocturne, I think, is a really good addition to be able to add
Yeah.
after just seeing what Tyler was able to produce in that early game.
Yeah, Tyler definitely caused a lot of problems for the Plasma Wolves in that last one on the Nocturne, so not too surprised to see that one getting removed. It does mean, well, of course, right, they didn't have their bans before in the previous. Yeah, I was about to be like, oh, so what are they leaving? Oh, that's right. Oh, for the side of Veracity, they're going to go for something a little bit different here. They're going to ban away the Aurelian Soul instead of the Nautilus. What do we think about that, Storm?
I think Veracity is going. I was gonna say to early maybe prio the Syndra, but we see Plasma was back on the B1 Syndra train.
Yeah, I mean, they literally
Just
took it
pretty much
B1 last game
threatening
as well.
limestone.
Yeah.
But we
I,
do
I,
see Veracity
mm,
decided to take the Volibear on their side this time instead of
okay.
leaving it for Zuri in
Okay.
that second rotation on blue side.
Interesting. A flex, of course. You know, I don't know if that's something that Uba plays up there in the top lane. I think you said that he does play the Volibear a little bit, right? Or no?
I would assume he would. He's a pretty big bruiser player. Obviously, I think
Okay.
Volibear, especially in recent times, has been one of those big staple picks for a lot of top laners. But we see the R2 Caitlyn deciding to swerve away from the APCs in bot lane, giving
Hmm.
themselves something that's going to give them a little bit more bot lane priority, I think is a good look. They could still look to pair it with something like the Seraphine, maybe going for a hard shoving lane with like Kate Lux that really want to play to poke out and punch things that try to play for scaling like this Jinx. And we see the
Yeah.
Amumu answer for the Volibear.
Yeah, the Veracity bottom lane definitely struggled a bit, I think, into the Jinx in the previous game, but now they've got the Caitlyn here for the Arcane Lore matchup, and we'll see if that is going to go a little bit better for them. So yeah, I totally could just see the Seraphine locked in here again on the R3 for Veracity. I thought the Seraphine looked pretty good. With taking the Kennen again, I guess I don't mind that either. Uba did look also pretty good on the Kennen. Even was able to find a
Yeah,
couple of solo kills over there in the side lanes.
yeah, and I think right now this would be you have two options. You either need to start banning away these super peel supports like the Milio, as we see taken away, and then probably the Lulu. But your issue
Hmm.
in doing that is you're leaving this Cassante up again. Maybe Uba just doesn't feel
Hmm.
like it was that big of an impact in the lane. I personally think it was, but just as I say it, Cassante gets
All
ripped
right.
away.
He will have to yield to the ban. So
That he
that
will.
seems a good call for Voracity, I think. Um, yeah, I assume they're going to go for the support lock-in here in the R4 slot. The Plasma Wolves have the option to deny another support, but they're going to go for the Jarvan ban instead. So definitely the side of the Plasma Wolves really respecting the flex options of the Volibear.
Yeah, I think it's really important. We see the Karma. This not only one is a very solid lane with this Kate Karma being able to hard pressure the Syndra early on in the lane, but on top of that, it could also still flex mid as well into the Syndra. Karma, a very strong early game lane bully, can really stand and fight with the Syndra in the early game, and Syndra doesn't have a ton of tools to really deal with what Karma wants to do between the
True.
lockdown with that W and the poke from the Mantra Qs.
Hmm. The Thresh gonna get locked in now for the Plasma Wolves. Definitely a classic Jinx pairing, but a pick that a lot of people I feel like are not so high on these days. The Thresh, right? It just feels like there's a lot of champions that kind of do the things he does, but a little bit better these days. They're gonna go for the Ornn there as well. So another very strong team fighting composition for the Wolves.
Yeah, Thresh definitely is one of those supports that is just will be permagated by pro play. Anytime this champion is too out of tune, it might as well be the Azir equivalent in support.
Yeah.
It will just get tagged. But as we see Kennen actually getting teched most likely into mid lane this game, as
Yeah.
Veracity decides to pick the Jax into the Ornn.
Yeah, we knew that Ken was a flex pick for this team, right? This is not something that I was really thinking about, but definitely it's something that Limestone we know is happy to play, and it does mean that they can go for that counter pick for Uba in the top lane. So, I mean, what do you think about the Jax pick here? It feels like it's pretty hard to really pressure the Ornn that much. What do you think is really the plan with this Jax?
This feels like they're just picking Uba pure comfort, something that can really deal with the Syndra Jinx inside lane if they step up to him. Me personally, obviously, I don't know how pinched pools feel right now. I think maybe flexing this Volibear back top and maybe this just actually
Mhm.
Jack's jungle
Okay, yeah.
is also a really good angle. The Volibear lanes incredibly well into the Ornn,
Yeah.
but if this team comp falls behind, they have damage, but they don't. A
Yeah.
lot of this is early game damage that really needs to scale. Caitlyn, not particularly great at ripping through tanks. Same with Kennen, same with Karma. Jax can build for it, but if he decides to build purely to fight and rip down this Ornn in side lanes, he will be a lot squishier in these big team fights with that Syndra.
Yeah, definitely. Some interesting decisions here for Veracity. Maybe they are going to want to commit more to like a split push strategy. It felt like they kind of, they tried to pick apart the team fighting or the team fight comp, I should say, of the Plasma Wolves in the last game, and were somewhat successful, right? But obviously not able to get the win in the end. So maybe it is kind of that thought process where they're going to go for a different sort of win condition this time around with the Jax coming into the side lane, like you're talking about, trying to bully this Ornn. I would honestly, I really liked your idea, honestly, of putting the Volibear up there, actually. Not only because I feel like he might be a little bit more comfortable into the Ornn, just in terms of, being able to just kind of match the tankiness a little bit more for the side of Veracity if they do want to commit to some team fights at some point. But also, of course, that would be another lore battle. Volibear versus the Ornn, being brothers, of course.
Yeah. I being an ex top laner might transition back one of these days. Volibear absolutely breaks the brakes off of Ornn in lane. Ornn's biggest issues it deals with are these sustain juggernaut style champions that
Yeah,
can just sit and take these super prolonged fights. Jax is still a solid answer. I'm not going to say it's overly bad. Being able to use that counter strike to stop Ornn from getting brittle autos, being mobile enough to dodge out of that searing strike are also important things. And if Uba's taking it on 5 here, I would assume he is pretty comfortable in this matchup and already knows how he wants to play it out.
fair enough. Yeah,
Otherwise, I feel like he could have went with a little bit more of a hard winning matchup. But at the end of the day, this is your winner go home game. You need to play like you are on Uber comfort and you put yourself in a position to carry this game. And Jax is just one of those top laners.
absolutely. Yeah, we'll see if Uba's going to be able to get it done this time around. I do think maybe we should discuss the Kennen mid a little bit as well. We did slightly discuss the Kennen versus Syndra matchup in our previous draft when we were expecting to see that Kennen go mid. But it does feel like it's a bit of a difficult matchup for the Kennen, right? Into the Syndra.
Yes and no.
Hmm.
Kennen unironically has the ability to win this matchup if one of two things happens.
Okay.
One, we get some early jungle attention from this Volibear being able to force out that flash from the Syndra early, because at 6, it is very easy for Kennen just to lightning rush at Syndra and play the game of, I'm going to force you to use scatter here, and if you whiff, I am just on your head.
Yeah.
And Kennen's definitely got enough burst early in the game, especially when he takes that first back and can get that Hex Tech alternator, that he really can just like 1.5 rotation Syndra if he gets onto her.
Okay. Okay. What's the other thing? Or was that both things?
It's
Can I just not
that
count?
the flash check and if Syndra can whiff scatter are like the
Okay.
two
Okay.
big things you have to check on this. Um, Especially playing Kennen, most mid lane players, um, especially playing into niche things like this, I've definitely fallen victim to this matchup in solo queue on the Syndra side of it, where
Hmm.
you think you hard win, so you start chucking scatters, just praying you hit so you can blow up, and if you whiff, it's just Kennen's go button, which is really convenient, especially Kennen being an energy-based champion is able to just sit and absorb XP in this lane a lot longer than you can because your resource burns a lot faster than his does.
Yeah, something important to consider as well. So then for the side of Wall Street, would you really be recommending that the Syndra play this lane a little bit safer in that case, just to kind of not even try not to even worry about it? Like, don't push up, don't expose yourself to those possible Volibear ganks. Don't you put yourself in that position, right, where you have that sort of skill check where you basically land the scatter or die. Or do you think that it is important that Wall Street tries to put on some pressure in this matchup and it tries to, bully out the Kennen a little bit with that range advantage?
I think Syndra really needs to be playing that line, playing in waves to dodge out of that lightning shuriken from the Kennen, especially in the early game. You're looking for a lot of QW poke, not really looking for scatter. The only time you can really risk putting scatter on cooldown in this matchup is when you know you've got your jungler close by. And
Mm,
that is the other thing with this 2v2 is the Amumu and Volibear can both set up their mid laners combos incredibly easy.
definitely, definitely. I feel like Wall Street was using the scatter pretty aggressively during the laning phase in the previous game, so we'll see if our game one POG is going to have to adapt the strategy a little bit into the Kennen. And we'll see as well, of course, be very interested to see how aggressively the Kennen decides to play that for Limestone on the side of Voracity. Because obviously, with the Kled in the previous game, of course, with Kled, you're going to be looking to play extremely aggressively, right? That's that's the champion's whole thing. But maybe Limestone this time around is really going to want to be looking to go for some more roams, focus more towards you know, some grouping up with some other members of the team, making an impact on the sides. We'll have to see. Any other tidbits about the Kennen mid that we should be aware of? You know, it's not something that I'm very familiar with, but you know, obviously, as we've said earlier, Limestone has definitely a good amount of experience on this.
Yeah, it's definitely a niche pick. It has fallen out of favor in a while, but obviously I'm a bit of a Kennen enjoyer just on the other side of the map.
Hmm.
I think this champion is incredibly good in comp, especially with this team. I think it was kind of hard in the later stages of the game for Kennen to really get a ton of value trying to cut through that Milio utility. But in this game, it's really on Panda to try to negate these Kennen engages on Thresh, which is a lot harder to do than on Milio. And if
Yeah.
that Kennen gets into that Jinx Syndra in mid games, it is a lot of damage to have to worry about, especially with Volibear coming over top, dealing with possible Jax flank angles. It can
No
get
doubt.
really hard for the side of Plasma Wolves if they fall behind. But on for the side of Plasma Wolves also, you're up in this series, you're comfortable, you're chilling. It is really easy if you've got the gas pedal on to just rip or an ult on people and let a
Mm.
Mumu follow it, to let Syndra follow with combo, and then just get these Jinx resets and let Jinx take over these fights after this initial kills.
Which draft do you favor this time around? Or do you feel like Voracity have the right tools to bring us to that third game? Or do you feel like the team fighting composition, once again, from the Plasma Wolves is a little bit more what you're feeling?
If this is nameplates off, I have to take the side of Plasma Wolves here. I think you don't overly have any super hard losing lane other than bot lane, but even then, you're playing scaling in a lane bully. As long as you come out just not too far behind, you're super comfortable in that situation. But I feel like everywhere else is a bit of a skill check, but I much more value the side of scaling for the side of Plasma Wolves here.
Makes sense. The Wolves up 1 in the series. We'll be on to the Rift in just a moment to see if New Origin Voracity can find their way to that third game. We'll be right back.
I've been treading water for some time, picking up the parts of all my lies. Didn't get to solve it this time. How am I to break apart? Don't tell me why we can't collide. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Don't you feel it? Don't you feel it? On the break of dawn, I'll follow you to carry on. On the break of dawn.
gravity pull and it keeps me awake. I would rather be here, lonely in space. I've made up my mind, I just wanna be free. I live my own life in a new galaxy. I wanna be weightless in the silence of the night sky. I wanna free fall into nothing at all. I'm taking the moment, starting all over. I wanna be free and live my own life in a new galaxy. I can feel the memories fade, it's easing my mind. And I can finally breathe when I'm closing my eyes. I never realized what light years could do, but now I know I'm better off without you.
All right, guys, we are back onto the Rift for our second game of the night. Plasma Wolves on the blue side once again after picking up that win in the first game. They're going for a little bit of a play here at the level 1 mark as they're going to find Limestone, who flashes and still gets caught by the Death Sentence. And it's going to be the Plasma Wolves picking up right where they left off.
Yeah, that's an important cooldown, especially early game. If Kennen taking that electrocute is not going to have access to that resolve tree, so this Syndra poke early is going to hurt, especially when Syndra bringing that first strike again, being able to get a ton of value. But this just opens up now. The Amumu level 3 gank is lethal from full HP with the double Qs, and Syndra being able to set up with scatter. This can get really rough for this Kennen if he does not take care of these waves properly.
Yeah, the Mumu even going to have a little bit of extra movement speed for that potential play as well, right? Getting that last hit. Going to be able to start off with the boots. Always feels great for junglers. Just able to speed up your clear that little bit with the movement speed. Can be really nice. We'll see if Juri is going to be able to find more impact plays here in the early game.
Yeah, another thing to keep track of, Tortuga coming back in.
Yeah.
Obviously, having to play against Praetors and Scarlet, who already have a game in that are warmed up, is that going to factor in here? Uba also trading into Nike early with this Jax into the Ornn, just kind of trading back grass procs. We also see here jungles are reverse clearing against each other. The Volibear pathing towards bot lane as that Amumu is now possibly hovering their bot side that's being shoved in by this Caitlyn, but Caitlyn gets hooked.
Kratos there, but only level 1 still for Tortuga and Panda, so they're not really able to capitalize. Although there's level 2, the play backwards. Kratos gonna have to flash away the flash forward for Tortuga, but now the Jinx getting exhausted. It's gonna go ahead and cleanse off that exhaust. The zap onto Scarlet. Now the hook has to be flashed by the Karma, so that is almost all summoners on cooldown now in that bottom lane. Only the Thresh Flash still available.
Yeah, and this is a possibly good angle for Tyler to look on this Volibear, being able to just volley Q stun somebody with both targets not having access to their flash other than the Thresh. You can just force this onto the Jinx if they keep shoving too far forward.
Absolutely, yeah. Could be a great angle for Tyler here. The Volibear, in fact, even going to skip those last couple of camps, and Trash Panda lands the hook, but it might end up being a bait. Scarlet is going down extremely low, and Tortuga does get the reset, has had that excitement, but it's going to be immediately Tyler there to turn the fight around. 2-for-1 play for Voracity.
Yeah, we see also on the top side here, this Jax kind of getting the better of the Ornn in this early game. But we see the Amumu is now here to hover. This could look difficult for the Jacks.
Lands that initial bandage toss, does Shuri, who also skipped to camp to be here, so only level 3 and not going to be able to land the second bandage toss. So Uba just able to leap strike his way out of that one, not going to have to flash or anything like that.
Ooh, and we see the Jacks maybe trying to fake a cheeky recall here, maybe catch this Ornn trying to shove the lane, but sadly, this wave is really slamming into Ornn's, so we can just kind of sit here and slow take it and force Uba to kind of just drop XP. The other thing that sucks here is this Volibear's still on the bottom side of the map, so it's really hard for Uba to break this freeze.
And goes Uba. It's going to get the flash off of Nike Dragon.
Yeah, that's a really important cooldown for this Ornn, especially with this wave should be bouncing towards the Jacks now. Kennen trying to play for that early poke in mid.
Yeah, Juri going to have to go up there to catch that wave in the top lane, so Nike Dragon, you know, obviously had to go for the base there. Is going to be able to teleport back. See if Uba wants to teleport back as well. Looks like he will. Try to keep up that pressure onto the Ornn. It's definitely been making the Jax counter pick work pretty well so far, although it's, of course, quite early still.
Yeah, and we just saw a kind of pretty hard trade for that Kennen mid into that Syndra. Kind of what I'm talking about, when that scatter is on cooldown, it is super easy for Kennen just to lightning rush in and kind of full combo the Syndra and say, hey, I have so much move speed. Good luck hitting your Q. Good luck hitting the W.
Yeah, Trash Panda with the Hex Splash setting something up down here. Scarlet is going down quite low, but Praetos is still... Oh, there's the bandage toss. The Amumu here as well is going to secure that first kill, and now Tortuga with the passive run-in able to pick up the double, and now 4-2 Plasma Wolves out in front.
Yeah, Tortuga just kind of space gliding on him a little bit. Zuri committing that flash super early to guarantee that first bandage toss is really important there. Obviously willing to burn his summoners for his bot lane to get them ahead. This early game can really shut down a lot of what this Caitlyn Karma lane wants to do. Because once they lose their ability to kind of pressure this Thresh, they can kind of just get put on site with these death sentences.
Absolutely, yeah. Tyler, nice scatter there from Wall Street. Not going to be under too much pressure. But yeah, the Caitlyn Karma, you pick it to win the lane, right? And fortunately for Praetos and Scarlet, they are now significantly behind. I mean, we can see Tortuga already with the BF sword there in the inventory. It's pretty close to that first item completion, although for Voracity, they are going to be able to get this first round of grubs, it looks like. So, going to be a trade of these early neutrals.
Yeah, and if you're on the side of Voracity here, grubs you would much rather have just being able to play this Jax, play the Kennen that really want to get pressure inside lanes eventually. Does it suck to give up an Ocean Drag early in this game with their comp? Yeah.
No Karma here to help out on this kill. I imagine they're just going to give this one over to Tortuga as well. There it is. It's a killing spree for the Jinx. 4-1 now for the AD carry.
We see Uba taking an early engage here. He is already kind of chucked out, but he dodges the Searing Strike.
Positioning really aggressively. Call the Forge God comes out from Nike Dragon. That is going to force back the Jax, but ultimate down now for Nike. Still in a bit of a dangerous position up here in the lane, but is Nike going to be able to get back underneath the turret? Nice Bellows Breath to immune the stun, but still it might not be enough. Tyler with the ultimate, able to get in there, finish off Nike, but Praetos in trouble once again. But Tortuga rooted up underneath the turret. The shutdown goes over. Kuri is going to be able to take down the Caitlyn, but the ramped up turret gives the double kill over to Praetos. A little bit of a botched dive for the side of the Plasma Wolves, gets Praetos back into the game.
Yeah, and that is a lot of shutdown gold to throw back into this Caitlyn. Sure, Caitlyn is down a good chunk of CS in this early game, but those shutdown kills going in actually evens out her items with this Jinx. The only difference being those tier 1 boots in this early game. So I think this evens out their lane a lot more, maybe allowing them to start putting some pressure back into this Thresh, especially now with Volibear hovering the Karma.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, Tyler, like you say, down here towards the bottom side of the map right now. So the wave's currently pushing out, pushing towards the side of the Plasma Wolves. So So the Jinx Thresh probably not going to be too exposed.
Yeah, we see Cinder now gathering those splinters. Just got her first evolved. Gonna have access to that double Q. That's really where this lane's gonna start to flip pretty hard for the Kennen. Because now Cinder can just commit to building that passive without having to use her other abilities.
Oh, nice
We see
scatter.
here this-
Ooh, Limestone is getting really close. There's the Unleashed Power. It's not quite enough damage. Limestone's going to flash away, but the flash follow for Wall Street. Going to be able to find the solo kill in mid. The top laner is Uba looking for a play. Once again, the Ornn about to get flashed back. Nike Dragon, another Bellows Breath, but it's not going to be enough to get away. Uba picks up his first of the game.
Yeah, that's really big here for this Jax. Obviously, already a 20 CS lead. The Ornn TP looks like it's gonna be up by the time they spawn. Could help kind of alleviate some of the pressure that's coming through from this Jax. But right now, Jax is really starting to ramp up. Looking to probably finish that Triforce here in the next couple minutes, if I had to take a guess. But he's gonna bleed plates. He's bleeding waves. Now the Ornn down 25 CS alone. Jax sitting with that 1,200 gold lead in the top side.
Yeah. Uba definitely building up quite a big lead for himself. Looks like it is going to be that Trinity Force first. So what does that tell you, Storm, in terms of how Uba wants to play out this game? With that first purchase, do you feel like that's more for the side lane, or do you feel like that's more for the team fights?
This Trinity Force is just one of Jax's staple items. Jax really needs that Sheen proc to really take those extended trades and get the most out of his kit. There are two pretty popular Jax builds going on right now. One is more of an Iceborne Gauntlet build with the tier tank item that I cannot remember the name of right now.
Fimbulwinter?
But Fimbulwinter. But
Yeah.
I think after the nerfs to the shielding, that build's fallen off a little bit, except for like very niche matchups. But I think being able to go this Triforce, maybe tech into a Bork third if you're really worried about how tanky this Ornn's going to get. But either way, I think this is just, we're going to see a very generic
Ooh.
as we see Kennen's bursting, slicing Maelstrom trying to catch this.
Oh, now Trash Panda
right
flashing for the hook. Limestone is full HP underneath the turret, but the exhaust coming down as well, and there is the Unleashed Power coming out from Wall Street once again. Great setup there from Trash Panda. The trap potentially being set here, but that's going to be the Thresh. I assume is not going to face check this Banana Brush. Meanwhile, the Grubs have been secured by Jury, and okay, they are going to find Trash Panda in the end. The Thresh is going to get taken down by Praetor's. Call the Forge God comes out, though. Really nice double knock from Nike Dragon. Another knock-up comes through, and the Rocket from long range secures the kill. On to Praetor's, the flank angle from Uba. Is he going to be able to take down Wall Street? It's the flash away for Scarlet, but she's still going to drop, and Wall Street is able to get away from Uba. The Ornn trying to flash away. Nike Dragon is going to get taken down, but Uba extremely low now, surrounded by the Wolves on all sides. Tries to fight his way out, but it's not going to happen, and that's a shutdown now over to the Jinx, who's now up to 6 kills. And this is going to be the second Dragon now for the Wolves as well.
Yeah, this game's getting a little out of hand. Obviously, Tyler getting that initial engage on the Thresh, but we're just standing on walls when Ornn's in the game. Gets a little dicey. We see that Jinx rocket coming up river, splashing off Volibear into that Caitlyn, getting her excited, getting her even faster to that rotate. And now we see Praetor's getting possibly engaged on. Ooh,
Able to net his
swinging
way
and a
out.
miss.
Yeah, it was close, definitely, but Tyler was also there. So honestly, possibly a blessing for the side of the Plasma Wolves that they didn't end up fully committing to that play. Nike Dragon actually able to get turret plate up here on the top side as well as Uba. You know, just out of the Death Chamber, obviously. Not able to get back to lane that fast. Another close call for Trash Panda, almost finding another hook.
Yeah, I think on the side of Voracity here, Uba just needs to get pressure on these side lanes. You're not going to outperform this Ornn in a straight up 5v5 until you have a little bit more damage and you have more threat. There's just a lot of disengage tools for you right now.
We just saw the Trinity Force is done now for Uba, so definitely is able to pressure pretty heavily, at least here in the 1v1. Now, Wall Street potentially in trouble. Doesn't have Flash right now on the Syndra, and that is going to be Really nice gank coming out from Tyler on the overextended mid laner. They get that kill, but in the bottom lane, Tortuga and Panda just ripping them apart. One more rocket the shield. Gonna keep Scarlet alive barely. But this bot lane is looking quite dire for the side of New Origin once again.
Yeah, and the worst part to think about here is this Jinx is already winning these fights this hard. She's sitting on 2,700 right now. She's not only finishing these tier 2 boots, she's finishing pretty much every major component of the next item she wants, whether she decides to go to that full IE second or maybe text into Runen's second to maybe deal with a little bit of this front line. She's got options, and she's definitely got the income to kind of greed with it a little bit if she wants.
They're able to get that first turret down as well, up to 3,200 gold for the Jinx on this reset. I feel like Infinity Edge is probably the play. When you're that rich, it's like, why not, right?
Yeah, and we see that with the pickaxe, longsword coming out, and the crit cloak, as well as the tier 2 boots. This Jinx is shopping at Gucci right now. Holy.
Some designer. I think that's the that's Guma's Jinx skin that we're rocking as well, right?
Yes,
That makes sense.
2 different players, same Jinx skin. Crazy the synergy this Plasma's team's showing.
True. Yeah, they're in a great spot once again here. You know, they're going to be able to move Tortuga and Trash Panda into mid. Now another flash hook coming out from the Thresh. Beautiful setup there onto Scarlet, and Tortuga has all the damage that she needs. On this Jinx, another couple of kills coming through. They're going to take down this tier 1 in mid now as well. And Tortuga, I mean, is just a runaway train at this point. There is nobody from Voracity anywhere near this mid lane. It's going to be another turret. Probably the entire thing going to be taken out by Tortuga. Tyler's going to look for another play onto Wall Street, but it's a nice scatter to create that distance, the flash away to try to get away. But the flash committed there from Limestone just to make sure they can get that kill. But, I mean, that's just a silver lining on a very dark cloud for Voracity at this point.
Yeah, we're burning a lot of cooldowns to kill members that aren't sitting on a lot of gold, which is, it's a choice. I don't want to fault them for it, because obviously this Jinx on 2 items, if you look at this champion right now and you even slightly misstep, she will just burn you down with that 2-item core already. And she's going to be teching that 3rd attack speed item. This Jinx is beyond online. She is running the show.
And look at this Dragon Soul we have this game as well, Storm. It's a Hextech Soul, so... I mean, the fact that the Plasma Wolves got the first 2 dragons as well. It looks like they're going to be able to secure this Rift Heralds. Uba trying to get some work done on this bot tier 1, but Wall Street is going to be able to clear out the minion wave. And now they find Tyler in the jungle. The Volibear flashes away. Still gets stunned up by the bandage toss, but Jury not going to be able to chase any further. They do steal away the red buff, and then they're going to have complete control over this map. Should be an easy rotation down towards the bottom side for the Plasma Wolves if they would like to, but they're hanging out towards the top lane still for now.
Yeah, Tyler's got to be careful here. Don't get me wrong. The Counter-Strike from Jax will give you a bit of damage reduction into Syndra's base kit, even if you're not really that worried about the auto-attack damage. But now we see the Volibear back down.
He's back. Syndra no flash. This is pretty well played so far from Wall Street. It's a good scatter, but still going to get locked down by the Counter-Strike. Super Mega Death Rocket to try and help out, and the Unleashed Power almost enough to take down Uba. But once again, Tyler finds the Syndra in the side lane. That is going to be a man up now for... Oh dear, Trash Panda, Hex flashing over, and Uba is in so much trouble as well. Going to get hit by the bandage toss. Shuri now on a spree. The Volibear is going to be completely pushed out. I was about to say that with the man advantage, they could probably delay the dragon take, but never mind.
Yeah, when we see this Rift Herald pop bot lane, just going to feed more and more turret gold into this Jinx with it, as well as they can just start and engage.
The double ult.
For
Amazing setup there from Juri. And the Herald's still alive as well. Gonna go for another charge. Limestone trying to get in there with the Slicing Maelstrom, and we're gonna have to dismount from the Rift Herald. On top of Tortuga is the Volibear. They shut down the Jinx at long last. Limestone is gonna get taken down by the Amumu, but that was a much needed win for the side of Voracity. Now, Wall Street might be in trouble once again here immediately after teleporting in. Let's have the top laner called. The Forge God comes out as that ace in the hole just did not do very much damage, but Uba absolutely does as the Jax leaps over the wall, takes down Wall Street, and Nike Dragon now, the last to fall, trying to take down Praetles before he drops. Not going to happen. Double kill for Uba, and an ace actually coming through there for Voracity. They've got some signs of life still.
Yeah, and that's a lot of big shutdowns for the side of Voracity as well as taking that fight by this dragon. You do have to be careful, though. This Jinx, Thresh, and Amumu are coming back on the map. If you don't do this fast enough, there's very much a world they get here. The Jinx rocket almost steals it as well.
Yeah, that would have been what felt like the backbreaker, I think, if Tortuga actually got that. Still, the side of New Origin do have to find their way out. Will be able to escape stage right after securing their dragon. Yeah. Oh, a little bit of a fat finger there for Limestone, I think, slicing Maelstrom on cooldown.
Yeah, brother is playing the ping check. I will say another interesting thing coming out from this Syndra. A bit of a mid lane connoisseur myself. I cannot say I've ever done this build. This is now 2 games in a row they've done it. Just teching Lost Chapter directly into Shadow Flame.
Yeah. First, the top lane is Limestone is in trouble and is going to get taken down. Another pick there for the Amumu as Shuri has 7 kills on the Sad Mummy.
Yeah, the side of Plasma is getting a ton of value out of this just big tank initiator. Going that double burn item with the Sunfire Leandries. Not only can
another hook for Trash Panda, finds 2 with the flay as well. It's Tyler Stormbringer in retreat. The Thresh almost going down to the tower. But Trash Panda will also get away.
The other thing they have to worry about here is this Ornn is just free smacking on bot wave. Jax going in, though.
All right, another hook's going to land. Uba thought he could maybe make something happen, but flashes away and still gets destroyed by the balls. In comes Limestone, finds the carries with the slicing Maelstrom. Tortuga is going to drop, almost takes down Praetles, not quite going to happen. And that was Wall Street flashing away to escape from that Kennen ultimate. So another good counter punch coming out from the side of Voracity.
Yeah, and we see this Kennen starting to build into that Storm Surge. If he's able to get that procced onto this Jinx, they do have a lot of burst in their dive between him and Jax if they can both get on target. But so that's going to be really on Panda to maybe slow the aggression down just a little bit. Let Zuri be the main person to start these fights and let you follow up or peel out these divers. And that really is Plasma Wolf's next angles for how they want to start taking these fights. Because in the end of the day, you don't need to get the master 5-man engage. You just need that clean engage on at least 1, maybe 2 targets to get that Jinx reset pumping, and then she can just take over with that move speed and attack speed.
Absolutely, especially when she's this fed. Should be enough just to get that first kill at the start of the fight. Side of the Plasma Wolves. Scarlet able to get a little bit of vision down, and then it's going to get pushed out by Wall Street as the side of the Wolves taking complete control over this topside river right now. I see if they want to commit to an Otacon take. Seems like they're just trying to bait in New Origin for now.
Yeah, Tyler possibly having his camera a little bit not on himself, just kind of sprints past that Amumu there. got a little distracted when he saw the Thresh Lantern. But either way, no real engage starting here. Just kind of peppering, clearing vision, taking vision, and trying to prep either for this Otacon or Baron in the next 3 minutes.
Yeah, still got a little while till the Baron joins us on the Rift. Yeah, a lot of effort, a lot of investment right now from both teams, trying to get that vision control over this topside river. Uba in the bot lane with teleports. Nike Dragon currently having access to that as well. And we've got just over a minute now on this next Hextech Dragon as well. Still, of course, Soul Point being threatened by the side of the Plasma Wolves. They're still, though, committing to this top side of the map for now.
Yeah, and I think if you're Uba, you just want to fight this Ornn right now. Open.
Oh, the engage comes out. Jury going to be able to flash over the wall. Finds Praetles with the ultimate, and there are those kills going over. It's another one for the Jinx. Call the Forge God coming out onto Uba as well as the Jax. Not even really able to win out against the Ornn. in the 1v1. And now it is going to be the Otacon going over. Tyler is not even going to try to get over here to steal this one away or anything like that. And it's a pretty massive lead at this point for the Wolves. It is, I believe that was the Ruinous once again. So more value from these neutral objectives.
Yeah, the thing that kind of sucks here in this side lane, that Ornn taking the second item, Unending Despair, allows him to actually match a lot of the sustain that Jax is building with Grasp, with that Sundered Sky. These prolonged trades between the two of them don't overly favor the Jax unless Jax is going to hard commit with that Grandmaster's Might from the start. The other issue here is Jax does not want to tech into a heal cut item to help deal with it either, which means the only way he's really going to be able to tear through this Ornn is in these team fights when maybe one of the other utility-based members can prioritize it.
Yeah, it's a tall order. Fights have been looking pretty good for the side of the Plasma Wolves so far, and they do have such a formidable composition for it, right? Especially with this Amumu. Juri's been doing a great job setting up these fights for the team. Now the side of the Wolves, they're taking control over this bottom half of the map. And the side of Voracity, they can't really do anything about it, it seems. They're entirely pushed out almost of their own jungle. Do have that nice word of the Banana Brush giving a little bit of information. It's going to be cleared out now by the Panda, but the Dragon is pretty much already gone. We got a teleport coming in, but immediately Uba is going to get stunned up on entry, tries to flash away. They do have Tortuga trapped in the pit, has a lantern, but just going to expend the flash anyways. The Slicing Maelstrom doesn't actually find the value that it needs this time around. The Bandage Trust connects onto Limestone. They take down the Cannon, and Tortuga, excited, gets in there, takes down that last couple of members of New Origin. Scarlet going to be the last to drop, and this time it's a clean ace for the side of the Plasma Wolves. Are they just going to be able to end it here?
If they don't end, they should be kind of running themselves for the Baron here on their next reset. Honestly, I think Jinx just keeps getting excited off these and should be able to crash
10
out.
seconds on the Volibear. I think that the Nexus is going to fall here. The first Nexus turret already been destroyed. Still a couple of seconds on Tyler, and that is going to do it. Night falls for New Origin, and the Plasma Wolves will move on to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, this game too was a great showing from Tortuga. A lot of what I was trying to talk about earlier in our pregame before they had to sadly eat that E-sub for game one. Tortuga and Trash Panda looking super comfortable on this hyper he's scaling 80 carry, but just saying, hey, I get that I scaled, but that doesn't mean my champion can't lane. Panda hitting hook after hook after hook through this game, being able to set up a lot of these engages for Zuri and for the Syndra follow-up stuns were just nuts. And if you're Plasma Wolves, especially after some of the drought you had in regular season, this is a great showing leading into your quarterfinal matchup.
Absolutely, absolutely. This second game especially. You know, the first game was a little bit more back and forth. You know, there were definitely some different parts of that first game number one that it felt like the side of New Origin were really had the advantage, right? But this second one, I mean, Tortuga and Trash Panda, like you said, they got started so early and were so dominant in that bot lane. And Juri had a fantastic game on that Amumu as well. So definitely a very strong showing from them, able to close it out in just under 26 minutes. It's very, very fast pace in the second game as well. So that is, exactly right. You know, they're going to be feeling great with this win heading into that quarterfinal. But as previously mentioned earlier on in the stream, it is going to be a really tough opponent they're going up against. So we'll see if they're going to be able to keep it going.
Yeah, and obviously now they've got to look ahead. Going into Bunny Brawlers, I get this roster towards the end of the season had a little bit of shakeups, but a lot of players still returned and came back. Obviously, playing with a new jungler may be a bit of a downgrade as the old jungler was kind of running a lot of their games. So I don't know how strong this roster's actually going to be in comparison to their record. But I think if you're the bunnies here, you got to be a little worried after seeing this kind of showing from Wolves.
Yeah, absolutely. And in real life, of course, the wolf is the natural predator over the bunny. So, well, they're definitely on notice. You have to keep an eye out for these wolves. They're definitely looking pretty hungry. We do, of course, have to say goodbye to New Origin Voracity. Overall, in that first game, they definitely put up a pretty good fight. Do you feel like you're pretty happy with at least the what they tried to go for in this match? Of course, not being able to pick up a game, taking the 0-2, not ideal. Certainly, they would have liked to at least get one. They would have liked to win, of course. But overall, are you satisfied with what they went for? You feel like for the side of Veracity?
I think game one was a really good showing from them. I think they definitely had kind of their foot on the gas. They had the lead to fight in that game. Tyler being able to get Nocturne ult after Nocturne ult in that mid game and early game. Same thing with Uba getting great cannon flash engages on these team fights. Scarlet layering that Seraphine ult over top of these fights on repeat, and Brand just being able to burn a lot of them. Sadly, towards that mid game, people just kind of losing track of what waves they needed to catch. Engages coming from multiple different angles and just not layering them together properly was a bit of a last straw on the camel's back. But I feel like if you're after this series, especially with your game one, it sucks to go out 2-0, but game one, you guys played an amazing game. Just kind of, you got cookie cutter comped versus not cookie cutter comped at like 44 minutes. And then game two, even when behind, able to get a lot of like shutdown kills, be able to take that fight around that Hextech dragon and not only win the fight, but also secure the dragon. There's a lot of good things that Veracity was able to pull off in these games, even in the loss. So if I'm them, I would
Yeah.
still hold your hand high as you didn't just hand this win over by any means. They made Plasma Wolves work for a lot of it.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I think the games were absolutely more competitive than a 0-2 final score would indicate, right? I do think that there were a lot of moments for the side of New Origin Veracity in that one, but of course not enough in the end. Last real order of business, I think, Storm, is we do have to award a game to POG for the side of the Wolves. What are you thinking this time around? Of course, in game number one, we gave it to Wall Street. Tortuga wasn't on the Rift in that game number one. So that's relevant information here, I think.
That is true. Obviously, when you just look at KDA's damage charts, Tortuga does look to be the shining light on this team, but I'm actually going to give it to Panda. Jinx and the 80 carry role is a very important thing, but Panda was setting him up on repeat, hook after hook, flay after flay. Zuri also being able to find the setups to get that Jinx rolling. Obviously, Tortuga was putting out, but Panda is just that right hand man that's a little bit in the shadow, just kind of manipulating things almost like a LeBlanc type way.
Yeah, Panda had an amazing game on that Thresh, no doubt about it. Was hitting so many hooks. And just the fact that Panda played multiple roles for the team tonight as well, I feel like is worth mentioning. Maybe was in kind of had Jinx brain still running in game number two and just kind of had the perfect feel for exactly what Tortuga needed in those situations to really be set up for success. But I like it. I like the Thresh vote. It's a good shout. Supports often don't get the appreciation that they deserve, right? So I think this is a good opportunity to give that appreciation, that recognition over to Panda, who really did, like you say, do a lot of setup for the team, did a lot of work in that regard. But overall, any final thoughts on this one, Storm? Anything else you wanted to touch on or closing remarks for the stream today?
Uh, just shout out Veracity. You had a good season. Obviously, I'll miss seeing you guys play. Sadly, this is the end for them this season. Plasma Wolves, congrats. 2-0 games. Um, Wall Street, that's a weird Syndra build angle, and I'm not even throwing shade at it. It kind of
It
does some shit.
works.
I'll give you that. I'll I'll
Well.
I'm gonna try it. I'm not gonna lie. Um, but I think this is a really good series that both teams can walk away from and be happy with the outcome in some form or fashion.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be really excited to see if the Plasma Wolves can take it to the Bunnies next week. And then hopefully, you know, we can see Voracity back for the spring split, and maybe they'll be able to make a little bit of a deeper run in the playoffs. But that's going to do it from us here. Again, big congrats to Plasmos for taking the first Play-ins victory of the season. From myself, from Storm, from everybody here at the LXC, thank you everybody very much for watching. Don't forget, we are kicking off the Crusader League playoffs. That's going to be tomorrow night. Don't want to miss that one. For now, thank you again, and have a good one.